Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Oh, full house. Look at that. I would like to call to order the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting. It is Tuesday, June 12th, and it's 7 o'clock. Call the roll, please.
Mayor James.
Here.
Vice Mayor Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Grace.
Here.
Commissioner Salvino.
Here.
Assistant City Manager Donnelly.
Here.
City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
Can you please bow your heads for a moment of silence? This moment of silence. Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I just wanted to mention today, at several other meetings I was in, that today is the 2-year anniversary of the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, that I think an additional moment of silence is warranted for that, if you all don't mind.
Can you please bow your head for another moment of silence? Thank you. Commissioner Grace? Afterwards. Oh, afterwards. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Commissioner Grace.
Well, I understand through the grapevine that we have a very special day that's going to be on.
Oh no, we can
on
wait.
Tomorrow. Oh.
We can wait for that.
No,
we can't. We're
and
with you
so,
tomorrow.
along with me being the youngest person on this commission, I would like to say happy birthday to the mayor. Her birthday is tomorrow.
Thank you. It's Gemini season. And happy birthday to everyone else whose birthday is in late May and June.
What's wrong with early May?
Excuse me?
What's wrong with early May?
It's
Too
not
old.
Gemini.
Early is
Presentations and special event approvals. The state of the city. I recently shot the state of the city with Mr. Frank LaConta, and I had a great time, and we are going to show the state of the city right now. So if we could get that presentation up and rolling, you will hear from the latest and greatest from Dania Beach.
Hello, Dania Beach. I'm Frank LaConto, here in the Commission Chambers for the State of the City report with Mayor Tamara James. And welcome to you, Mayor.
Welcome, Frank, and thank you for stopping by. And I would also like to thank our Vice Mayor, Bill Harris, our Commissioner, Chicky Brandemarty, our Commissioner, Marco Salvino, and our Commissioner, Bobby H. Grace.
Let's begin our conversation with an overview of the city's financial status.
Well, last year, we reported that the city was in okay or good financial status. And now I am elated to tell you that we are more than good. We're booming with new development. We have a totally different look. So we're very excited for all of the revenues and the things to come to our city.
Let's talk now about the city's budget.
Absolutely. The city is in great shape. This is our 4th consecutive year in increasing our values, and we are planning a lot of great things.
Now, we hear that Dania Beach is leading Broward County in its taxable value.
Not only are we the first city in Broward County, we're #1 in leading in taxable value, which is 20.6%, which kind of translates to $3.6 million.
By the way, did the Commission reach its goal of the fund balance reserve?
Yes, Frank, we are at 25%, and we were also able to fund our hurricane reserve.
Now, the Commission, I understand, is looking ahead by funding studies for the future of Dania Beach. What's being done?
We are conducting a salary study that will ensure that our employees are being compensated at a correct rate. And also, we have contracted with someone to do a parks master plan and also a transportation mobility study.
By the way, there's a new brand and a new logo for Dania Beach. Let's talk about that, Mayor.
Yes, I'm so excited about our new logo. Redline Media Marketing Group did coming up with our new logo, our new seal, and our new brand. Our slogan is "See it, live it, love it." And in the logo, in the D shape, you will find a B. And the pink in the logo represents the development. The yellow in the logo represents the sun. And the blue in the logo represents the beach, because we are a coastal community.
Well, Mayor, because Florida's in the climate of these type of storms, we had Hurricane Irma come by here. How bad was it for the city? And actually, this was the first major hurricane since 2005.
Frank, this was a very concerning storm that came, but not only because of the size of the storm, but because of the path of the storm. It was going directly up Florida from the bottom to the top. And we did a lot of things to help prepare our residents. We created some sandbags that our public works did a great job in assisting, and we were here to the last time that we can be here to answer any questions in our ELC building.
Well, I know there were no fatalities, thank goodness. Damaged debris was 70% of the new beach dunes.
We lost 70% of our dunes, but our Public Works Department has worked really, really hard post-Hurricane Irma to be able to provide our beachgoers with the sand dunes and everything that they had before the storm hit. It took us about a week to get back up and running, but as soon as we could, we had workers on the ground the next day, the day that the hurricane left, and was working tirelessly to ensure that our residents, received all the services that they needed.
I know you have a hurricane preparedness event each year. This year you had Brian Norcross here.
It was an amazing event, and we look forward to having it every year. And I just hope that the residents continue to take heed to these type of events so that they can be properly prepared for when these natural disasters come.
Now, Mayor, I understand that the Parks and Recreation is always going through new things. Tell us about that.
I am very happy to report that our Parks and Recreation constantly being upgraded. We were able to start a Gracefully Aging senior program that takes place at C.W. Thomas Park twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 o'clock. So if you're listening, feel free to come out. We have new summer camp programs at P.J. Milley, which is sponsored by Memorial Healthcare, and they sponsor 50 kids for our program there. We also have our own summer camp program at Frost Park. We rededicated Chesterburg Park with some major improvements like the shade shelter. We also funded lifeguards out on the beach north of the pier. And I am finally able to be really excited about our sports program, and the commission funded an athletic director position, and our city is taking over all of our sports programs. We are now the Dania Beach Dolphins.
Now, the airport challenges continue, Mayor. Talk about that.
The airport is a great economic engine here in Broward County, but it still poses some threats and some issues here to Dania Beach. And so the commission and our city staff are still addressing some issues concerning the airport expansion, and also trying to address the concerns about Uber and them being in our neighborhoods.
Now, the city has completed quite a few capital improvement projects, Mayor. Talk about that.
One of our capital improvement projects has been our annual resurfacing project for our roads, and we have completed 4 miles of road travel lanes. And the lime softening of the water plant, we have completed some upgrades to that as well, including the filters, and we changed from a gas chlorine treatment plant to a liquid chlorine plant. Our stormwater projects are ongoing on Southwest 26th Terrace. We made some major improvements to Taylor Lane, which is the home of the city's marine shipyards. We put in stormwater and swells, and we rebuilt the road, and we partnered with Director of Marine Services to take the area's stormwater.
Mayor, let's stay on the stormwater subject for another moment. The Southeast Stormwater Project, Phase 2, what can you tell us about that?
Yes, this project came in way over budget, so we had to redesign the project and reject the last bid, and now it's out to bid so we could meet our $6 million budget.
Mayor, there's other street improvement projects going on within the city.
We are happy that the state reopened Ravenswood Bridge, and Broward County came behind them and did a lot of beautifications down Ravenswood Road. So we're very happy for the progress that was made there.
Okay, let's change direction a little bit, Mayor, and talk about a project that I like very much, the Oasis Neighborhood Improvements. This is for crime prevention, improving neighborhoods.
You know, I always love the Oasis project because they give you a sense of pride within your own home, and you know that you have some buy-in from the city to help you with these things like pavers, new sidewalks, and we also have decorative street signs and the ADA sidewalk access.
On Oasis 13, as they call it, some changes there also.
Absolutely. We have new sidewalks in that area and parking pavers, solar lights, and we also have decorative street signs in that area.
Now, Mayor, there's also a neighborhood beautification project, and the motto is to plant, to paint, and to mulch.
So I was very happy to be a part of this beautification program in which we partnered with Rebuilding America, which is a nonprofit group from Fort Lauderdale. We went inside of the American Legion post 304 and 209, and we not only painted, but we did a lot of landscaping there with help of our sponsors, which is Home Depot, Chick-fil-A, and hundreds of volunteers that flooded this area in Dania Beach to provide their services to not only these 2 Legion posts, but different houses around the community to give them a facelift.
Well, Mayor, let's talk a little bit about community development now. Construction cranes and dump trucks are all over this city. Wonderful to see. And some major projects were actually completed this past year.
Absolutely. We are transforming this city into a destination place, and we are in a developmental boom, as I like to call it. And we can start with the Morrison Hotel, which consists of 143 rooms on Federal Highway, and it's next door to City Hall. And we can also talk about the Walmart Neighborhood Market, which is a redevelopment of 40,000 square feet of retail space. And on the western part of the city, there is a new Wendy's. And lastly, we have a new Family Dollar store on Griffin Road.
Now, Mayor, let's talk about the huge project going up here in the city called Dania Point.
Oh, wow, Frank, this is the talk of the city, the talk of Broward County. This is a huge project that sits on 102 acres and roughly around $1 billion. And Phase 1 is slated to open this year, and Phase 2 is now in the permitting process. They will have a 300-room hotel, 1,000 rooms in luxury residential units, 500,000 square foot of Class A office space, 1 million square foot of retail and restaurants, and public event space.
Well, Dania Point is the biggie. Certainly is on the map, Mayor. Are there other developments going on in the city right now?
Absolutely. Currently, we have about 100 residential units that are being built right now throughout the city, and we're going to have more single-family units being developed pretty soon.
Now, the city has established, Mayor, a special permit office, which I think is great.
The commission and the city staff came up with the SPO building, which is the Special Permitting Office, and that directly services large-scale projects such as Dania Point. And so we have a regular permitting building, and now we have our SPO building. It's busy every single day because we have a lot of different developments coming.
Public safety is a vital component of every community. Let's talk about the BSO right now, the Broward Sheriff's Office.
Our budget has allowed us to fund a lot of different positions within BSO with our fire and our police program. Not only have we hired 4 additional fire rescue personnel, we also took delivery of a new rescue vehicle.
Mayor, Dania Beach has terrific events all through the year. Talk about a few of them.
The first event that we have starting in January is our Martin Luther King celebration, and we have a parade, and we also have a day out in the park. The second event I want to talk about is the holiday tree lighting, which we turned the fountain into a ginormous Christmas tree, and it's very well attended. And annually we have our antique motorcycle show, and it draws a huge crowd of thousands of people that come from various counties and communities here to our very own park here at Dania Beach. And lastly, our Arts and Seafood celebration, which is always held here annually as well. There are huge crowds here, and we partner with the casino and other businesses that sponsor this great event.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor James, for the State of the City Report, Dania Beach 2018.
Thank you, Frank. It's always an honor.
And that's our program. Until the next time, this is Frank LeConto. Have a great day.
Thank you. And I would like to thank Frank again for his hard work. It was very fun shooting with him. I always have a good time. We have one more video presentation. Please don't fall asleep out there. I know it's late at night. It's very short. This is the NAREIT. This is a video that I shot with Kimco in conjunction with speaking about Dania Point. So it is very informative. There was some of these articles that was passed out in the audience, and that's what you have here, Commission, with you, and then we're going to play a short video.
When REITs invest in projects within communities, the benefits extend and their tenants and shareholders. All across the country, REIT development and redevelopment projects can mean new jobs, better infrastructure, and increased economic activity. In some places, they're starting from scratch. In others, they're renovating existing properties that have fallen into disrepair. Here in southern Florida, just outside of Fort Lauderdale, Dania Point is revitalizing 102 acres of neglected land.
Dania Point is going to be the next destination point, not only for Dania Beach, but for the entire Fort Lauderdale market.
This really will become the downtown. This will become the hub of the community. And we want that piece of the community to feel like it's their own.
The partnership between the city and Kimco has been amazing. What it will mean to Dania Beach is more development, upgraded infrastructure, a destination place for Dania Beach residents.
Originally, we just had it as a pure retail development, but the demand forces were so strong for non-retail, we really started to explore a mixed-use development. Tourism is a big driving industry in this area, and the hotel demand was significant, as well as multifamily demand. So we took a step back and said, you know, let's look at the highest and best use of this real estate and develop a plan to maximize the value.
We've been successful in staying on our schedule, and our plan right now is to open 300,000 square feet of retail in our Phase 1, almost 500,000 square feet of retail in Phase 2, 264 apartment units, 350 hotel rooms, at least 250,000 square feet of office building.
The city of Dania Beach really went above and beyond because they saw the potential that we saw, and that really this could be something to be proud of, to be part of Dania Beach.
Dania Point and us redoing our downtown area will create a sense of ownership here for our residents here in Dania Beach. And I'm really excited for our tax base expanding because there are a lot of great things that I want to do for our city. I'm really excited for the endless opportunities that are going to present itself to Dania Beach.
There are 13 REITs currently headquartered in Florida. In total, REITs own nearly 44,000 properties with an estimated value of over $112 billion in Florida to date.
Thank you. Next, we will have a presentation by Ms. Tia Major. She is our liaison for Broward Reed's community.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
We hear you.
Today I'm going to give you an overview of the Broward Reads, the Campaign for Grade Level Reading, City of Dania Beach update. So, just to help you to understand what the Broward Reads Grade Level Campaign is, the goal is to initiate, the goal of this initiative is for us to unite as a city to demonstrate our commitment to achieving third grade reading proficiency. So just to give you a little bit of history, a few years ago, the third graders in Broward County were not passing the test. And so the Broward County School Board, the Children's Services Council, Early Learning Coalition, and many other nonprofit organizations and banks and businesses got together and decided to come up with a plan to address this problem. And so from that plan, they decided to infiltrate the cities with the plan in terms of the 4 pillars you see. And they include school readiness, which identifies programs provided so that children enter kindergarten ready for success. Chronic absenteeism was one of the problems. They want to see if we have programs that provide or promote school attendance. Family engagement. What kind of programs do we offer in the city of Dania to get families involved? Also preventing the summer slide, and that is to make sure that there are enriching opportunities for our children to have during the summertime with an academic focus. And so Literacy Connections citywide plan includes a needs assessment, which we're in the process of doing now, where we are meeting with all of the stakeholders who have an interest in children and families in the city of Dania, like the schools, the parks and recs, the early learning centers, banks, churches. And so we are doing a needs assessment, going around asking them to tell us what their concerns are, what their strengths are, and what their needs are as it relates to the 4 pillars. After that needs assessment is done, and we anticipate that we'll be done with that by midsummer, we will then collaborate to develop an action plan. We'll implement the action plan, and then we'll evaluate its effectiveness. And so the impact that Literacy Connection has made as the community liaison for the city of Dania includes, we've met with Alex Middle School principal, and he's agreed to partner with us in terms of having events. Our first event will be at the summer camp where they serve 200 to 300 students over this summer. We are going to implement the Operation Read Literacy Initiative at C.W. Thomas Park, and I'm going to talk more about that a little later. We've met with the leaders of Global Learning Academy, which is a new early learning center in the city of Dania, and we've engaged in their Family Fun Day where we brought books to distribute and we did literacy activities with the families. We've also gone to the Dania Church of God, where we've also engaged in storytelling, and we've distributed books there as well. We met with St. Ruth Missionary Baptist Church. The chief staff has opened the doors of the church for us to do activities, and they also donated books to our organization. On Saturday, we supported the summer reading kickoff at the library where we brought our literacy bus, and children and families were able to get on. We did storytelling, and we also distributed books again because the research says that if a child has 40 books in their home by the time they're in second grade, they read better and test better. So our organization is on a mission to make sure every child in the city of Dania has at least 40 books. We met with the City of Dania Education Committee to see how we can collaborate with them and align some of what we're doing with what they're doing. We're also being very innovative in planning a sister city event with the City of Hollywood. At the meetings, I was able to meet with the young lady, Donna Green, who is on the Education Committee for the City of Hollywood, and we kind of bonded, and so now we are meeting surrounding creating an activity or an event where the cities come together and we do something surrounding literacy. And we've also been invited to the Dania Patch to bring the literacy bus and distribute books. The Black Child Development Institute has donated 500 books for that initiative for us to bring to the patch. And the books are specifically about health, vegetables, healthy eating, and they're really, really interesting books. So just to give you an update on our meetings, the Broward Reads Coalition meets every other month. So we were appointed in February, so the first meeting we were able to attend was the March 22nd meeting. And on the highlights of that meeting were the cities had to report on any literacy initiatives. So since I was new, I let them know that we're in the process of doing our needs assessment. We're moving about the city to create the relationships that we're going to need to really move this movement forward. They also wanted us to identify the early learning centers in the city of Dania and to see if they are accredited. And that the House Bill 1091 establishes a statewide program accountability system for school readiness providers in the state of Florida. So what's happening is the state of Florida is up in the ante. They're raising the bar for the early learning centers. July 2019, anyone who wants to open up an early learning center will have to be nationally accredited. Why? Because our babies are coming to elementary schools not prepared. And so this is a good thing. What I did was we talked to the early learning centers in the community, and they're all on board with trying to be grandfathered in. They will have to go on a success plan in July of 2018 to be grandfathered in by 2019. So we also talked about countywide summer initiatives. The Libraries Walk Summer Reading Program is one of them. At summer break spots across the county, every Monday, they'll have volunteers coming in to read while the kids are eating. And I believe Dania has 3 spots. I'm sorry, I only have 2 up there. College Garden, C.W. Thomas, and Mealy Park. Now, this is the really good part. So, our organization has been able to obtain $10,000 from the BSO Law Enforcement grant to implement program services at C.W. Thomas Park. Our target audience is the elementary and middle school age children. The goal is to provide extended learning opportunities for the children in the city of Dania Beach that strengthens their vocabulary and comprehension skills, because if you don't know, that's one of the main problems with the testing piece with our children is that their vocabulary is not there and the comprehension is not there. So we have some really fun activities that we're going to be doing once a month at C.W. Thomas Park, along with bringing the literacy bus, which everyone loves. We're going to distribute 2,500 books over 10 months. And this also supports the Grade Level Reading Campaign. The second piece, which is really near and dear to my heart, is a brand new initiative that my organization has designed. It has national potential, and it's going to start right here in the city of Dania, the pilot program. BB&T is going to give us $2,500 to create reading spaces in the city of Dania and in their bank. So how it works, the Build Your Literacy Bank initiative is going to provide a space in the bank where children can, while they're waiting for their parents to do banking business, they're going to have a spot in the bank where they can read financial literacy children's books. And then we've asked them to allow us to take a portion of that funding to find a needy place in the community to build another reading space. So I'm talking to HUD right now to see if we can't partner BB&T with the HUD facilities in our community to be able to bring the reading spaces in the HUD sites. And this is just a pictorial journal of what we've done so far. As you can see, we've met with some people, the Education Committee, the CRA Director. You have pictures of the books we've distributed, the literacy buses on the end. And the main thing I want you to see in these pictures is the level of engagement from the children. Again, thank you for the opportunity to serve this community in this capacity. And the one thing that we really need help with as an organization, we are in the process of trying to locate a building. We have to do this anyway because we are bulging out at the seams with resources. We have 25 desktops. We have instruments for music lessons. And now that we're getting grant funding, we're going to need to house 2,500 books to distribute to the students here. And we are in need of a donated space to be able to do that. I've spoken with many people within the city who have been trying to help me locate a space. But any space available where we could have complete autonomy, the key to the space, because our sponsors and donors are trusting us with resources and to distribute according to the grants or the proposal that we've written. So we know that we have access to city places or city buildings to implement program services, but we are definitely in need of a space to house all of these resources that we are bringing to the city at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Grace?
I thank you so much for that presentation, and as I reflect back, I want to really thank our Assistant City Manager Colin Donnelly for really having us be a part of the Collins Elementary experience with the reading program, who really reached out to BSO and the Lions Club that we were able to substantiate the funds for $10,000 for Collins Elementary and Dania Elementary for the reading lab. And of course, everybody on this commission goes to those schools and we read to them, but I've tried to encourage them to be in character. If they're reading Cat in the Hat, I want them to dress the part, you know. It makes it more fun. And one part that I like about it, because not only do we read to the children, but we give the children an opportunity to read to us. And I want to report that Dania Elementary and Collins Elementary are reading above average.
Yes.
And I really appreciate what the City of Dania Beach has done. Thank you.
Yes, and we know that the schools in the City of Dania Beach, especially the elementary schools, are performing pretty well. What we want to focus on is the extended learning opportunities when they're not in school, and raising the bar. Even though they're here, we want to take them to the moon and beyond.
Absolutely.
And so this is why many of the initiatives that we're trying to bring to the city, we're trying to attract the funding, the resources, so we can take the students much further than where they are now. And they are at a good place. Yes, they are.
I like the way that you're reaching out to Attucks Middle School, and if you reach out to the Attucks Alumni Association, because we partner with Attucks Middle School, that you will be able to pull in a lot of the educators that started out with some of us a long time ago.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for taking this initiative and running with it, because I know it's a lot of work and it's a tireless job, so I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
A presentation by the Dania Beach Creative Arts Council Advisory Board.
Mayor, Commissioner.
Good evening.
Good evening.
City Manager, City Attorney.
Can you speak? Can you pull the mic down so we can hear you, please?
I will. Okay. You have to indulge me. I'm not very techy, so I will do the best I can with this thing. The Creative
Can I
Arts
have your
Council.
name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Linda Wilson. I am a member of the Creative Arts Advisory Board and a president of the Friends of the Dania Beach Library, which is the reason I sit on the council as well.
Thank you.
Okay. The Creative Arts Council Board, as you can see up there, we are fostering all types of visual, cultural, and performance arts. And the Cultural Arts Council was originated in fiscal year 2013-2014. And since then, we have been providing exhibits within the Atrium Art Gallery, which probably, I would say, 85% of the people in the city don't know exist. It's right here in City Hall, right out there in the gallery, and that gallery was initiated by this commission on January 20th of 2015. It is managed and coordinated by Kit Arnold, who is a resident artist in the Cambridge Square, and also the chair of our committee. Anyway, the Creative Arts Council has been involved in the city's art program for many, many years, and it kind of was initiated by this report, which was the City of Dania Beach, Broward First City. And if you haven't ever seen this, it's a report that you should resurrect. It was written October 30th of 2006, and it laid out the importance of art and culture for the City of Dania Beach and all of the potential opportunities that it gives you when you have art and culture programs, museums, galleries. And since you've gone through several iterations of your famous city being tomato capital of the world, then antique capital of the South, and perhaps now it's time for you to start looking at recreating yourself as an art and culture center in this area of Dania Beach. So we're looking forward to being a part of that with you. I'd like to just, if you would indulge me, to read the resolution that created the CACAB, which is, whereas the City Commission determined that it is advisable to create a Creative Arts Council Advisory Board to assist the city in identifying and creating policies and action plans that pertain to the enhancement of a vibrant, engaged arts community as an economic development strategy, with the understanding that arts provide jobs, attract visitors, create products, influence consumer spending, and build community vitality. And that is all happening here with your redevelopment. You need to have something that is a destination for people who come here and have a place to go. You have the Weiner Museum of Decorative Arts and the Gallery of Amazing Things here in the city. That is really a treasure. And that's something that we are looking forward to working with them in conjunction with the Atrium Art Gallery as well, and perhaps be able to bring in some sculpture and some, not permanent exhibits, but cabinetry that will exhibit some of their collection and make people aware of their existence as well. We recently, in addition to the Atrium Art shows, we've had two recently, one from Luis Gomez and one that's out there right now from Joel Cafiero. And in conjunction with the Dania After Dark, we opened the Atrium, and we had Joel there with quite a following of people. And we had two other additional auxiliary artists who came in, Coral Nucci, who does funky mosaics, and Charlene Alvarez, who does recycled art with Go Green Kids. So there was an opportunity there for different types of art to be shown in addition to what was out there in the art walk. So these types of things will continue, and we will continue to support the Dania After Dark and be here in the Atrium Gallery to have a smattering of other types of art, more in the fine art than in, you know, the craft arts. So that's what we're looking forward to. What we have recently also started with the remaining signal boxes, there are 2 more to come. As you know, we completed 18 of them. That was done in 2015 and 2014. And we are working on designs for 2 more. One that will be across from Attucks Middle School, and that will be more in the history vein, and one that will be on US 1 at Northwest First Street that will probably have a marine type of theme. But those will come back to you all for your review and suggestions. It'll be discussed at our next Creative Arts Council meeting. So again, in your rebranding effort, we're very excited and hope to be able to I did something. I told you I was not to be trusted with this thing. Can you fix it? Okay. This is what happened in the video in our last Saturday's event inside the atrium. And I know many people didn't know we had this. So we had these two students who came from Broward College who were in this program. We had a pianist and a saxophonist. And then we had the three artists. We had over 80 people, and most of them didn't even know that we were in there. Found out by accident. There were even some people who asked, is there anything going on in there? And they were told no. So this time, next month, we will have signage. And it will help bring people in there, and you will see a different variety of people. We'll be out in the street, and it will be complimented. See what we have done, what we can continue to do.
We can't hear you.
Excuse me, not hearing me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, this is what happened, and this is an example of what's out there now. That was the first exhibit that we did, which was the 18 boxes that we wrapped, and that was in June 11th of 2014. And then you see the Dania After Dark, which we just did this past Saturday. So we will continue to invite you, and we hope that you will come to that.
Thank you.
And then here comes the last part. We, with a rebranding, we would love to be involved in it, and we would like to be able, we would like to be able to offer our services in the types of mural programs that we are looking for. We're still looking for community walls, since the government doesn't really have, Dania does not have many public walls, so we have suggested possibly of doing the community centers, maybe C.W. Thomas and Frost Park, interior or exterior. Those are some of the things we're considering. And also the bridge on US 1 right at Old Griffin Road. We've been working with that project with FDOT and others, but that will be about an 18-month process to get all the approvals and permits. But we're hoping to be able to use either the colors or the whole theme of the Dania Beach new rebranding to be a welcoming on both sides as you come from the airport to see that continuation of the rebranding as well. And any other way that we can get involved with you with banners or more paintings, even the utility poles. Let's do something with the coloring perhaps on the utility poles that are just these big concrete masses out there. And our last is we need to still finish the gallery. We need additional hanging hardware. If you go out there now, you'll see we only have 2 levels, and it's not complete all around, so it limits us to the amount of artwork that we can display. So we usually have only one artist. Right now we have the one artist who has 33 pieces hanging out there. And when he came last Saturday, he brought with him an additional 15 pieces, and we did have a really good response to this. We usually do a formal reception for the artist, and we do this every other month. So we have him, Joel will be here June and July, but next month we will also have some additional artists, and we hope to be able to have the music program back there again. And we need to continue that gallery hardware so that we can continue to expand our exhibitions. And we also, there's nothing to identify the Dania Beach Atrium Art Gallery. We would love to have a sign. And so we have asked for both the hardware and the signage so that we can really begin to expand the impact of art in the city of Dania Beach right here in City Hall. And I thank you for indulging me with this. And I hope that you will consider our request. And we'd like to do it in this fiscal year. So if you would please think about doing that for us.
Thank you. Commissioner Grace?
Linda, I was very impressed with what was going on inside City Hall, and especially the young people from Broward Community College. I understand that actually we had 2 sales of a couple of the pictures that were hanging up there, so which was really good. So I'm in agreement with you that we need some signage so that they'll know that we're having some activities on the inside.
Is your mic on, Commissioner Grace?
Yes, it is. The light says green.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things I thought about is that when you talked about the murals and so forth, the garage, you know, it would
That's
be
a
really
big
nice
garage.
if we had
We've
something
talked
very
about
nice
that
there,
before,
and
yeah.
that was one of the things that I thought
We'd
about.
love to do that.
Would be consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to acknowledge the members of the CACAB who are in here. Kind of just stand up. Those are all of you that are affiliated with us, have been affiliated with us, and support us. We're very much in support of any type of art and cultural activity.
I'm going to, oh, sorry, Commissioner Salvino.
Thank you, Mayor.
Let's see.
Seeing that we've had so much arts and seafood, and we've had the After Dark, I'd like to give them the $2,000 tonight.
Yeah, that's what I was going to, stole my thunder, but I'm going to let
Sorry,
you be
honey.
great. I'm going to let you be great. We're
Well,
going to be great
we
together.
work as a TEA.
That's right.
Those are my
How?
Can I second that?
Oh, yeah, seconded. Well, where's finance? Can we start requesting that finance come to these meetings? Because we always have questions and she's never here.
The finance officer had a personal issue tonight. Regarding the, if you want to make appropriation to the CAC, you have approximately $53,000 in your commission contingency reserve, so there's plenty of funds.
Commissioner Grace, hold on.
If the finance director is not going to be here, then whoever is assisting, he or she should be here, because there are finances that we have to talk about occasionally, and we need someone to let us know exactly what we have and what we don't have. One question I have to ask is, do we give money to the Creative Arts Council already?
Yes, we do.
And
Sorry, my bad.
hold your hand out. Okay. And how much do we give in?
Through the Mayor, Commissioner, we don't regularly appropriate money to our advisory boards. The way the Commission's been acting is that they will appropriate upon a request and take it out of contingency, just as you've seen here tonight.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
No.
So can we,
Everybody's yes.
can we encumber
wait.
that money so that
Yes
it will
and no?
be there?
No, I said nobody opposed.
So I'll-
Everybody is yes.
Okay.
Did I do that wrong?
You have discussion?
Yeah.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah. Look, I'm all in favor of everything that you spoke about, and I'm very proud of you. However, do not paint a building that we think, or we're pretty close to, it's going to be torn down.
Oh, no, we're not.
Not the garage.
You know what
ain't
I
going
mean?
nowhere.
I'm not talking about the garage. We're thinking about building up on that,
No,
not down on that. I understand that. But do not put any murals on a building that you know is for sale and it's going to be sold and ripped out and taken down. Just want to advise you
It won't
on
happen.
that.
I hope you're not going to be tearing down the community centers, because that's what
Well,
we really
no, but we will probably be fixing them.
But we can do interior or exterior.
Well, listen, let's just
Okay.
start with your request.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
So we
the-
will
Rather
encumber that
give
money
the
so
money.
that we
Yep.
have
Speak
it.
on over the finance.
Okay, okay.
No.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thanks, Linda.
Yes. One last thing that is going to fall quickly under special event approvals. I got an email from the management over at TNT Fireworks, the person who is usually overdoing the permitting in issues had a death in their family, so they already have their permit approved, but they weren't able to submit it in time to get on the agenda, and they're just asking if we have any issues or can we approve their permit so they can start selling fireworks.
Yes.
So is that
Motion to approve.
motion approved? Second. All in favor?
Second. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Don't you say no. Okay. Citizens' comments. You have, Linda, you coming back? I'm gonna put you last. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Herbert Goldwire.
Oh, no.
Really?
Hello, how's everybody doing tonight?
Very good.
I'm so happy to be here tonight. My name is Herbert Goldwire, nurse practitioner. I live at 180 East Dania Beach Boulevard, Dania, Florida. And I just wanted to talk about gentrification. Earlier, I know I had made a statement about gentrification that some of you might have, taken offense to, but in no way was the comment that I made in the CRA meeting meant to offend anyone. And so if I offended anyone, I deeply apologize for that.
Thank you.
But I do want to say this, that I am against gentrification itself, yes, but I am not, for the record, against development. Again, I'm anti-gentrification, but I am for common sense development that will not displace residents and change the culture of their community. And for those of you that are natives of the city like I am, where I grew up in this city as a child, and I went to Collins Elementary School and lived here practically all of my life, I know Dania City pretty well. And I understand both sides of the aisle. I'm all for development and everything like that, but I just want us to keep in mind as we are letting the developers come in, I want us to keep in mind how many of those jobs are going to go to the residents within the city, number one. I also want us to keep in mind the prices. Now, I know you all have been doing a good job at keeping prices low, and I commend you for that, the commission for that. But at the same time, there haven't been a boom of development, and so we don't have nothing to really gauge that by. So what I want you to keep in mind is that, as Dania Point, for example, is coming into town and is being fastly developed over there, how will this impact the lives of the residents that live in the community going forward? I mean, I think development is great. I can probably afford it. I'm a professional. I'm a nurse practitioner. I can afford an increase of $500 or $1,000 rent. I can afford it because I'm a professional. But what about grandma and grandpa at home that's living on a fixed income? I want to speak for them. I want to speak for the less fortunate who may not be as fortunate as I am. So what are we going to do to remedy that? And this is all I want to say, because as I'm out in the community talking with the residents, these are some of the anxieties that they have. These are some of the concerns that they have, and I just want to voice that to you all. This is what's being said to me. So I just want us to keep that in mind, and of course, I'm for, again, for the record, I'm for common sense development that's going to allow us to keep the culture of our city in Dania.
Thank you. Sean DeRosa. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, Sean DeRosa, 408 Southeast 5th Street, Dania, Florida.
Hey, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. I was here a couple months ago and I had shared my serious concerns about the Airbnb problem. I didn't know if we were going to have a public workshop and you're going to take some suggestions from residents. I would greatly appreciate that. Some areas that I'd like to see in the ordinance is extra garbage pickup that's required for Airbnbs, a hard curfew that's set for them, a maximum number of occupants, and disclosure on the home with a photo of the property manager with their phone number posted and a secondary phone number posted for an emergency contact. And since they're running them like a hotel, I think they should also, the property manager should have to complete a background check for the city. I mean, if you're running the front desk at a local hotel here and you're getting hired by a local hotel, more than likely you've completed some type of employment background check. That's just as an FYI. Number two, I know you had gotten an email from me this week about my concern about the mosquito spraying in the southeast section. I thought east of Federal wasn't being covered, along with Southeast 5th Avenue and the mangroves, and I even called Broward County mosquito spraying today, and I don't know if I got a hard, verifiable answer from them, but they said they were going to be taking care of the east side, east of Federal, but I would greatly appreciate if someone with the commission or city management can verify that.
Assistant City Manager.
And they shared with me at the Broward Mosquito Spraying Department that they do 2 sprayings. One's for larvae and one's to kill the adult mosquitoes. So I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I know when they do a spraying, if it's effective, it really does a good job killing the mosquitoes. About a year and a half ago, I had 2 code enforcement officers come to my home. and they they cited me with a violation, and they asked me to get compliant with a canopy awning that I had placed at the front door. And I promptly did it. I went and submitted a drawing that was denied, and I had to go get a structural engineer drawing, which I went and got a stamped structural engineer drawing, had to get a brand new survey. It cost me about $1,500, but I promptly complied with our code enforcement department. And the reason I share that is because I shared with the code enforcement officers at the time. I said, listen, I have no problem complying, but are you going to hold the same folks accountable throughout the city? There's a lot of awnings in disrepair along Federal Highway. There's a lot of awnings within the cities that have nothing. You just see the metal frames. So I wanted to see if that's going to be addressed. But more importantly, the A-frame signs, the illegal sandwich signs, the illegal fluttering flags, yard signs is getting out of control again on Federal Highway. I mean, if you're coming down from Griffin and you go by the spa and the Cappuccino place, they have four illegal A-frame sandwich signs out every day. And I'm just wondering where our code enforcement department is in regards to bringing these repeat violators into compliance. And it's...
That's 3 minutes.
That's 3 minutes.
I mean, you want to wrap it up, or you know?
Sure. I mean, last but not least, I asked if Mr. Ansbro and the Commission could please look at finding some way to provide access to the express highway for the city residents, so we're not 100% segregated now. And this past weekend, when I was coming home on Dania Beach Boulevard, I saw some vendors selling fish and crab out of the back of their van and selling hot dogs. I don't know if that's permitted in the city of Dania. I think of our local restaurants being impacted, and also I think of is the food being maintained properly that they're selling to the public.
Thank you. Do we have an answer for him with the mosquitoes east of Dania Beach Boulevard, Assistant City Manager?
We can check tomorrow. I know that Katya said she's in contact with them, so she can do a public announcement. So we'll have an answer tomorrow. She'll be speaking with them.
Okay, thank you. Catherine Uden. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name's Kat Uden. I'm volunteer Surfrider Broward Chapter Chair. We want to thank you for your resolution of support for home rule on plastic bag legislation not long ago, and for the resolution of support opposing seismic testing and offshore drilling. Thank you so much, and thank you to the Green Advisory Board for their green efforts. The United Nations declared plastic pollution in our oceans a global crisis. Plastic photodegrades into tiny pieces, and it enters our food chain. One really simple way we can reduce plastic is through straws. So straws, like all plastic, is made from fossil fuels. We drill oil out of the ground to make them. We have a problem with straws because there's a lot of auto-strawing happening. Even when you don't want a straw, you get a straw in every single drink. So it's a huge waste of plastic. I was speaking with Mayor Beam Fur about the problem with recycling in our county. There's a lot of plastic that isn't being recycled. Even when you think it's going to be recycled, it gets mixed in with contaminants, and everything gets buried in the landfill. There's no glass recycling. The incinerators are at capacity. So we really want to reduce the straws. So in Hollywood, we're going to be working to enforce their ordinance of no plastic east of the Intercoastal. Mayor Josh Levy is working with us on that. So we're going to be banning the straw in Hollywood. Fort Myers has done it. Miami Beach has done it. Huge success. So entire nations are banning plastic. The UK, India, the Bahamas, all, I think, by 2020. So entire nations are doing it. We collect a lot of straws at our cleanups. Every single beach cleanup we do, we have handfuls and handfuls of plastic straws that we clean off the beach. These often end up inside of marine animals. So quarterdeck is a huge offender of that. We find a lot of quarterdeck straws. Sorry, quarterdeck. So Tallahassee loves to take away home rule, as you know. So Tallahassee took away home rule on plastic bags. They took away home rule on foam. And they actually tried to take away home rule on plastic straws this past January. Luckily, it didn't work. They tried to sneak in an amendment, and it did not pass. But I guarantee you they will try it again next legislative season. So the time to do a straw ordinance is now. Margaritaville, 5 o'clock somewhere, changed 2 paper straws. They're actually really high quality. My son approves of them. He hates paper straws, but they were actually really good quality.
Well, we have one right here for you.
It can be done. Sample ordinances. So we can provide you with different sample ordinances, anything ranging from completely banning plastic straws or doing paper straws upon request only. Even just doing an ordinance saying, please just do it on request only, don't auto straw every drink, makes a huge reduction in plastic. You could do something either in the entire city or east of the Intercoastal, like Hollywood is doing. Hollywood is banning all plastics and styrofoam east of the Intercoastal. Mayor Levy has given the restaurants about 6 months to phase out their old stock and figure out what they want to order, and he's going to be enforcing it this year. So we are really excited about that.
That's nice.
So the only reason we got that, because it was grandfathered in before, this is an old ordinance from, I think, the 90s. So we're very excited about that. Eliminating the auto strawing is actually a win-win for everybody because it saves the restaurant money and it's good for the environment. So we really want you to consider a plastic straw ordinance now before Tallahassee takes away your right to do it. And if you want to learn more, go to surfrider.org.
Hold on one second. Commissioner Grace and then Commissioner Brandon Martin.
I'm going to yield my time to Commissioner Brandon Martin because we did this in CRA earlier.
I wish you were here a little earlier. I made a presentation of my
That's what it was?
paper straw. Way ahead of you. I went for lunch today in Hollywood, and this is the thing that I got inside of my iced tea.
Yes.
And I was so proud to see this. And on the paper that you peel off, it says, "Save our environment. Hollywood cares."
Yes.
And I agree with you on this. And it's enforced in these restaurants. But something annoyed me. They didn't enforce the no smoking sign out there. So you don't want me to choke to death this way, but you want me to choke to death that way.
Yeah.
So on the way out, I stopped at the bar because at this hotel you got to go through there. And I said to the guy, I'm very proud that you got the paper straws. This is wonderful. Now you should work on banning the cigarette smoking next to me. And he says, the sign is up, lady. I said, now you should enforce
Well,
the
what they told
sign.
us was that we hate cigarette butts on the beach too, but they told us that we can ask people, like, please don't smoke, but like I said, Tallahassee took away home rule on that too. Our Surfrider was down in Tallahassee. I was personally in Tallahassee asking for them to give us back home rule on banning smoking in public parks and playgrounds, and that didn't end up passing. We will try again next legislative season.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with Tom. Tom, can we work on an ordinance and bring it to the commission so we can have discussion about it? Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
David Simonetta, do you? Okay. So you know we're going to work on this ordinance that you better speak about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of stole
Please-
my thunder.
Please state your name and address for the record.
David Simonetta, 4641 Southwest 42nd Avenue. Part of the Green Advisory Board and part of the... Can everybody hear me now?
Mhm.
Okay. The Green Advisory Board has been around for quite some time, and this past year we received some money from FP&L. We got these bags. Okay?
Mhm.
Everybody in here is going to get one.
Can I have 5? I go grocery shopping all the time and
Sure.
I use them.
And
Thank you.
I want you guys to, everybody in this room, to use these when you go to the grocery store.
See what I'm saying?
If we have enough, give 2 to everyone, and then give 1 to the person behind you in line.
What?
That's what I've been doing. When I go to the grocery store, I bring 2 with me. 1 to the person behind, and 1 for myself. All right.
Thank you. I'm going to need some more. I'll take the extra.
All right, so I'll talk about the plastic straws for just a second, but that would be something that I was going to talk about. I would like to see that citywide, by the way, if we can do the straws instead of just east of US 1 as what Hollywood has done. Okay. The second thing I wanted to discuss was trash receptacles on the beach. There are so many cigarette butts right around the Dania Beach Grill and the quarter deck. It's disgusting.
Correct.
My wife and I, we go to the beach every Saturday morning, and anybody here is welcome to join us. From 7:30 in the morning to 8:30 in the morning, we clean up the beach with our little 19-month-old son. And you wouldn't believe how many cigarette butts are everywhere. So I'm asking everybody here to put some sort of cigarette butt receptacle and recycling bins more accessible. You go to outside of Dania Beach Grill, there are cigarette butts all over the place. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I didn't get one. I didn't get two.
She did.
Miss Linda Wilson. Lord Jesus. Please state your name and address for the record. I'll take 3, thank you.
Okay, Linda Wilson and Chris Swait, who is the assistant branch manager at the library, and Carol, who is our vice president of Friends of the Library. I wanted to bring this to you. We had this made special as a poster for you guys. Do you recognize it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is the Broward County new
Library card.
And I bet most of you don't have it, and if you don't have a library card, go out and get one.
Okay.
This is your Dania Beach Pier, and it shows the quarter deck and your pier, and this is at sunrise. We had a contest throughout Broward County, and this photo was submitted, and it was the winning photo. So this will be our Broward County library card until we run out of however many we have. So run out and get one.
Oh, okay. The picture. I don't know. They submitted it. Linda, who submitted the photo?
I don't know. They didn't ever tell us who
Oh,
the winner
okay.
was. But anyway, we're presenting it to you, and I hope you find some place visible.
Can I take it? Oh, okay.
Pat, I want
You don't get it, do you?
Oh, thank you. Happy birthday to me. That is it for the commission comments. Public safety reports, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Recently, we received a few complaints about suspicious activity along Southwest First Ave. Passed it along to the midnight shift supervisors, and within 5 hours of me delivering that message, one of the sergeants observed a suspicious person walk into a fenced-in yard, enter a structure, come out with a pressure washer, and then proceed to walk down the street and around midnight. So he actually watched the burglary take place, pulled up to him and said, "Hey, what are you doing, guy?" He said, "Oh, I just finished working." I said, So we arrested him, got the property back to the owner. Previously, I reported on the theft of power tools from a business off of Anglers Avenue. A suspect was identified by our Criminal Investigations Division, and we charged the suspect with grand theft, dealing in stolen property, and fraud. And we also had all the items returned to the victim, which that's always good, especially when there's a delay in the crime and us identifying the suspect. We have a restaurant out west on Griffin Road that's been burglarized 4 times in the past 3 months.
What restaurant is it? So I know how to call.
It was the Royal India restaurant. We made an arrest of an ex-employee.
What restaurant was it?
Royal India.
Oh, okay.
We arrested somebody on the first burglary. All 4 incidents were kind of the same. Cash and rolls of coins were taken. Our Criminal Investigations Division, along with Deputy Reyes, who works day shift, came up with the suspect, did the interviews, and were able to obtain a warrant and arrest the suspect in that. On the morning of the 4th incident, Deputy Reyes and Deputy DeFran were conducting proactive enforcement throughout the city. They conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle. Deputy Reyes recognized the driver as the suspect from the first burglary, and in plain view there were all the coins and rolls from the restaurant.
Oh, Jesus.
So we were able to make an arrest real quick on that one. It's summertime. BSO is participating in the summer break spot all the way throughout the summer. Each week, BSO has a day where we have an asset. For instance, one week we'll have the mobile command post out. The next week we have the motor unit out. The next week we have one of our canines, and we do a cell phone safety presentation. Fire rescue comes out one week. The bomb squad the following week. Our marine unit brings a boat or an airboat out. We have the SWAT unit coming out one of the weeks, and our canine bloodhound coming out. And then our commercial vehicle enforcement unit will be there, as well as providing a main jail tour for their children. That completes my report. Does anybody have any issues, concerns?
I do. I got a phone call from a resident, and I am unclear on what to advise the resident. They're speaking about tents and people living right east. I know we spoke about this before, east of the Motel 6. Are you all aware of this?
Yes.
Okay, and what are we doing in regards to it? It was a while ago when I think Commissioner Brandon might have brought it up or something like that. Yeah. Oh, well, the resident asked me to go out there with him. Nah.
Well, what we have to do
I'm not
is
going out there.
contact I believe that property's in a trust, and then there's another property that's actually Hollywood behind that. So there's pretty much, it's private property.
So there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
Okay. And the last thing, I saw one of your officers today on the basketball court playing with our kids over at C.W. Thomas Park, and I thought it was just an amazing sight to see. If I wasn't coming over there, I would have shook them down a little bit. But I just want to thank you, because that's one of the first sights. It's probably the second time in the 2 years I've been here that I've actually seen our officers do more than just arrest and in patrol, but actually engage in the community policing, which is something that I think is very important. We need to establish that relationship between our officers and our community, and especially get them while they're young, so there is a respect both ways, and so we don't become, the next Ferguson or wherever else, because there's a lot of division between the two.
At 803, we also have a big bin that we purchased, and we had a bunch of sports balls donated. So
well, Commissioner Salvino said he did want to go and play you all.
Yeah, right.
We have footballs, basketballs, soccer balls, so anybody can come in and just grab a ball. If they want to keep it, they can keep it. If they want to come return it for next time, they can do that.
Okay. Commissioner Salvino?
I just wanted to share something with you, Danny, and the public. I was sitting in Grandpa's Bakery the other day having breakfast and looked across the street, and
they can't hear you.
And two gentlemen were running by well, you better fix these things. Two gentlemen were running by in my friend's truck, grabbed a weed eater out of the back of it, and took off down the street. And I looked at the guy and said, "You want us to chase him?" He said, "No, not really. The joke's on him. It doesn't work. And I was looking for a place to dump it." So, just to let you know that they're rocking down the street, grabbing stuff out of trucks, though.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
That's the truth. That's the truth.
I thought that was a joke. Danny, I know you answered the mayor when she asked you if anything could be done about Tent City. That's what I call it, right? It's got Dania Beach, Tent City. Since it's Hollywood, too, did you ever stop to think maybe a meeting with them to tell them that we have a joint situation going on here? There's about 30 people living back there.
Absolutely.
And they got beautiful Harleys, too. I wonder if they go to our motorcycle show.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
No.
Good evening
Good
to all members of the
evening.
dais. Sean Brown with Broward Sheriff's Fire Rescue. I don't have anything to report this evening. We'll probably be back up a little bit later for comments under later comments.
All right.
Any questions for fire?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Sure.
How are you making out with the smoke detectors for people that don't have them?
I will follow up on that
Thank
to
you.
confirm.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Consent agenda, do we have any pulls?
If you could pull 7.3 for me, please.
7.3.
7.3, 7.6, and 7.7.
All right.
And I also have to read the title of the ordinance.
Motion to approve with the exception of 7.3, 7.6, and 7.7.
Let me first read, if I may, 7.13. This is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, creating Article 12 to be entitled Public Nuisance and Section 17-133 to be entitled Public Nuisance Abatement as part of Chapter 17 entitled Offenses Miscellaneous of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date, first reading, and I'll explain this at the second Commission meeting in June. That's the purpose for that.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against that? All right, now you can read your...
All right, 7.3 is a resolution of the City Commission.
Wait.
We have to
Hold on a second.
approve the
So, go
consent
ahead.
agenda with the exception of the three.
Of 7.3, 7.6, 7.7.
Yes.
Make a motion, Mayor.
Motion, second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Awesome.
All right, 7.3, a resolution of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending the city travel policy applicable to elected officials to provide for travel reimbursement, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date. You had talked about this at the last meeting.
Mhm.
I've written in such a way that the spending over the overnight in Broward and Palm Beach and Miami-Dade would only apply to city elected officials. If you meant this to apply to all employees as well as you.
Gotcha.
Is that what you wanted to do or not?
Just elected officials.
Just elected officials, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
All right, that's the way
Exactly.
that's the way it's
Only.
written. Okay, that's ready for adoption then.
Okay.
Just for commissioners.
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
7.6, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the proper city officials to execute a maintenance memorandum of agreement with the State of Florida Department of Transportation based upon expanded limits of interchange areas located at I-95 State Road Number 9 and Sterling Road State Road Number 848 at I-95 and Griffin Road State Road Number 818. City will perform maintenance of landscape improvements of areas located within the city, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Commissioner Grace?
Mayor,
Yes.
Commission, just a clarification and update. Somebody can enlighten me.
I received this through the Public Services Department. The FDOT typically will, if they have, well,
Yeah, Brad.
can talk about it. Yeah, he's more up
Okay.
on it.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good
Commissioners.
evening.
Commissioner Grace, this is just an item where the FDOT is going to make landscaping enhancements at these particular locations by 95 and Sterling, 95 and Griffin Road, and at that point, once those enhancements are made, then the city will take over them and the maintenance responsibilities going forward.
My question is, do we have any input as to...
Sure, our staff has worked with them.
Thank you.
Yes,
What's
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
Item 7, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the proper city officials to execute an amendment to the existing agreement with CAP Government, called CAP, to obtain supplemental clerical services from CAP, retroactive to October 1, 2017, valid through June 16, 2019, without competitive bidding and without advertisement for bids that will exceed an annual vendor total amount of $25,000. Further, ratifying expenses and authorizing such purchases made from the building fund from the approved annual budget appropriations, preventing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Commissioner Grace?
Colin, can you elaborate, please?
Yeah, the Community Development Department hired additional, or one additional administrative staff in the SPO, and that was to be through a contract, piggybacking on a CAP contract. That's our contractor in the SPO. It turns out that we have two contracts with them. We piggyback off of two contracts. The contract that had to do with the administrative assistant expired, so we have to approve this. We have to approve this contract retroactively just to follow our purchasing policies for this administrative help.
So we're adding another person?
It's a contractual person in the SPO, which we get from CAP. Just as we hire the building inspectors, this is an administrative staff person.
I'm sorry, I took up your question. Can I
No,
continue questioning?
but it-
Okay. How many CAP people do we have in our building department? You know?
Mark, can
Oh,
you go up
sorry.
and address this?
Because it sounds like it's an additional person to me.
Me too.
Good evening, Mark LaFerrier, Community Development. To answer your question, Mayor, we have approximately 7 people now.
This was an additional person?
This is included in that 7. This is the only clerical person that we have. They're actually not in the SPO. They're in the permit office, the main building department.
So you want to move them to the SPO?
No. What we did is we moved city staff over to the SPO,
Mhm.
left a gap in the city staff in the
Mhm.
building division, so this clerical person was needed to fill that spot.
So my
then-
question
and then-
is, why are we doing it before we go to the fiscal budget?
The mid-year budget?
Well, as the Assistant City Manager explained, we had a contract that's been with CAP that we piggybacked from Oakland Park. It included clerical staff. That clerical staff has been with the city for maybe a better part than a year. It's just that piggyback contract with Oakland Park had just expired. And we obviously need to keep that clerical staff on board to keep the permits running through and being administrated properly. So we're asking that we amend our contract with CAP so that we can include clerical services. The other contract with Fort Lauderdale that we currently have as a contract that we piggybacked on is only for plan review and inspection services.
So okay, so we have about 7 people in CAP that are not city employees. Why can't we just create a position so that we have an employee here versus continuing to get all of these employees for CAP? It seems like pretty soon the whole department is going to be CAP.
No, we got a lot more people that are in CAP.
Oh, I see
that
a
aren't
lot of
working
people
for
there.
CAP. That aren't working for CAP. But I mean, if that's something that the workload certainly requires that we need the additional staff. There's no doubt about that.
Do we not
So that's
have
something we could do in
anybody
the upcoming
in-house that
budget.
we can elevate to this position?
We don't have an
Going
open
outside?
position that was approved by the commission from last year's budget.
What happened to, who retired from your department? Was it in,
Well, it was a building inspector, and that was, I think, 2 years ago.
so what have we done with that position?
That position expired that budget year.
So who do we have to do those inspections now?
That's county staff.
County staff. Can we,
Right now, we have a hybrid of county staff doing plan review and inspections, and we have CAP staff doing inspections.
okay, so we have no inspectors that are City of Dania Beach?
There's no inspectors that are employees of the
I don't know.
city.
I would like to explore the opportunity of having some of our own inspectors, maybe not all of them, but some of our own inspectors and some of our own employees versus, continuing to outsource to CAP and just continuing to spend money that way. I don't know. We're doing great. We're doing great financially, and I know that we'll be able to support, especially the building department, with having good jobs for people that are for the City of Dania Beach. I mean, having a city job is supposed to be very rewarding and a good paying job with benefits, and I just would hate for, our residents possibly to lose out on that because we're outsourcing the CAP. It's just my opinion. Commissioner Grace?
I'm on board with that. That's why I asked you to pull it because, we have very loyal employees. I think that with the proper person working with them, they will be able to do the job. If you don't ask, you won't know. If you don't give them the chance, somebody gave us chances. So in the CRA earlier, we talked about making sure that we have the jobs elevated to residents in the City of Dania Beach. We have loyal employees that have been here for a very long time, and I would hate for us not to give them an opportunity to do the job if they could. And then if we can't find anyone within our department, then that's the time that we go out. But you're talking about 7 people now, and then an additional one from Broward County who's doing the inspections,
More than that.
Commissioner Savino?
More than that.
More than that, yeah, really, more.
Okay. Mayor, thank you. I think the clerical position probably could be, you could probably find somebody for that relatively soon. I think if we could pass it for a little bit to let, as a temporary job while we hire somebody, I'm all in agreement with putting a person on. I think you're going to have an issue, though, finding building inspectors to hire. The way that the construction trade is going right now, I don't think there's a building inspector out there looking for a job. I don't think you're going to find one, but I'm all for it.
No, we can definitely check at least. It's not even an option right now.
I think his department is in need of someone now. That can we hire it on a temporary basis, like month to month, or is that something that would be
For
wrong
the
to
clerical
train?
position or
This
for
is the clerical
for a
position
clerical
on here.
position?
We should
We
find somebody.
have someone from, what we did is, because the SPO got to be busy enough, we had to move our city employees over to the SPO, which left a gap in our building divisions, the regular building division, so we brought in someone from CAP to fill those needs. If the commission wants us to budget another person, we could do that in the upcoming budget, but right now I don't have an open position in my approved budget.
Let me ask you this.
Oh, okay.
The person from CAP, how much would we pay them?
We pay CAP $36 an hour.
And if we did it in-house with the clerical position through the city, what would the amount be?
I'd have to double check on that.
Is it 36 or is it less?
I think it's going to be in that range or less.
So the clerical position is, yeah, okay, so you're paying CAP. How much are you paying the individual that's working?
Oh, I don't know that.
I get
Because
a clerical position, $36 an hour. I need to quit being the mayor and go do that.
No, I understand that.
There you go.
We get an invoice from CAP. We pay CAP. That's their billing rate for that position. I don't know what they pay their employees.
Well, yeah, we definitely need to look at other opportunities. I know a position just opened up. I think it's in your department, administrative position there,
Yeah.
that just opened up a day ago. And so I'm sure if you can open up that position, we can open up the other position. We can keep it open for a week. I'm sure it'll be a lot of people that apply. I mean, you just have to, $36 an hour? No, I'm not in favor of this. I'm sorry. Assistant City Manager?
Yeah, Colin Donnelly, Assistant City Manager. The resolution on tonight is to look back and pay, just authorize the payment in the past. The reason why the Community Development Department expanded the SPO under contract services in his original recommendation to the City Commission, part of that was hiring inspectors and administrative staff to get up and running. Mark has been doing a great job with making sure that department runs, and so this is just one of those decisions where, you know, he needed a clerical staff, he put them in. What we can do when we look at the mid-year budget review at the next meeting, we can look to add that position and then advertise and do it in-house if that's what you'd like.
That was my
Well,
amendment.
yeah, because we haven't even dealt with the other issues that's in the SPO building or whatever, so I don't know why we have one and not the other on our agenda tonight. Because I've asked for the other ones to be on the agenda, and y'all told me next meeting, but we have this on the consent agenda for CAP. I'm confused.
This is a procurement housekeeping
What is
item,
wrong with that thing?
so that's why we're addressing it this way.
Okay, well,
I would like to make a motion.
wait, hold on, sorry, Vice Mayor?
Okay.
My only comment about hiring a full-time FTE, an additional FTE to fill the position, that we might need them now for the next 2.5, 3, 4 years when we're on an upward slope. Thank you. Upward slope for permitting. But what happens after 3.5, 4 more years when we don't have a lot of commercial development and we're just back to the residential thing? What happens then? I mean, would it be easier to use a contract employee for the next 4 years and then have that person have that contract expire? And how do you gauge that?
Well, actually, what you described was the basic approach that we took to the SBO. We knew that it was going to be a hybrid of city employees, county employees, and some new contractual employees. And the reason why our department's been successful is we've made sure that we never got behind. All the other jurisdictions that you see that are having trouble, and they all are, is because once they get behind, they can't catch up. So we've always been able to use CAP and the county well in getting people on board. If there's an issue, we bring them on board. And we're very fortunate with the CAP employees and the county employees and city employees that we have. They work very well as a team together. I have someone sitting in this seat today doing the work, and they've been doing the work for the last year. If this contract isn't approved tonight, then that person can't be working with us anymore, and we will start to get behind. But so the idea of doing something different is fine, but
can we
we'll
prorate
talk about
it?
that in the mid-year budget, but part of the philosophy of the SBO is to do it on a contractual basis so that when it does contract, we wouldn't have employees.
Is
that
this
we might have to
contract
lay
by
off.
month or is this contract by year?
It's annual.
So I want to prorate it. I don't want to tie it in for another year if we're thinking about doing something otherwise. I mean,
But what we would do is we'd come back, as Colin said, with a part of a mid-year budget adjustment for a new position, and then make it permanent in the annual budget coming up.
Make
And
what
then that-
permanent?
And then
Make
that way
CAP
this
permanent
contract.
or the
no,
person?
No, no.
The position.
The city.
The position, a city
It's gonna
position.
take time.
And then once that city position, once someone's sitting in that city position, then this CAP position would go away.
Okay,
And I would
so
just
it's
not
from
contract with
October
them
of
for
last
that.
year to this year, correct?
I
mean, if we're
no,
prorating
I think it's been longer than that,
I mean,
actually.
retroactive. But it says retroactive to October 1st, 2017, correct? So that means, and you said annually, so that's October 1st, 2018.
No, I don't think it was retroactive. It was retroactive since January 1. We had an approved contract with clerical services defined in that contract up until January. We were aware of it in May, and now we bring this forward so that we can continue.
So
with
this shouldn't say
contractual
October,
services.
it should say
Yeah,
January.
I don't know why it says that.
Commissioner Grace, what do you want to do? I mean, yeah, it's up to you all.
I mean, I don't want us to get behind. However, I don't want us to hire this person for a year. And I know that you're probably not going to be able to do what you were asking without us extending this contract for another year. Is that what?
Well, what I'm saying is, please extend it now, and if the commission chooses to create a new position, then we can open up that new position, hire that person, and then do away with this part of the CAP contract.
When?
Whenever the mid-year budget's coming through.
Mid-year budget, we could do that
Commissioner,
next
as-
week. Okay, sorry.
I apologize. Commissioner, the contract that Mark is using under CAP, we request the services and they supply the inspector depending on the level of business. So if we decide we want to take this administrative person and have our own, Mark, we would simply, under the contract, notify them as of an end date of the administrative position, and then we would go to a city position. There would be no interruption of service.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to extend the CAP contract pending mid-year budget review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Good job.
Public hearings?
9-1 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 28 of the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Article 675, Section 675-20, temporary uses authorized, providing for the use of surplus parking for temporary parking of passenger vehicles on property subject to pari-mutuel licenses, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date. Second reading of this ordinance.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is a text amendment for the temporary use for the parking at the High Line. This is second reading, so you heard this at first reading, but I do want to identify that there were some changes made between first and second reading, and this is at the request of the Commission as a result of the discussion at the last meeting. So what they have added is restrictions regarding the vehicles that are on the site. So it's basically the A, B, and C in the middle of the screen, where it talks about all passenger vehicles must be parked in designated parking areas. So now there'll be a designated area instead of before there was no designation. That the parking of recreational vehicles, panel trucks, or construction vehicles are not permitted in the temporary parking areas, and that the temporary parking areas be located at least 125 feet from a property line of any property zoned or used for residential use. So that provides some of that buffering that we were asking for as well. So are there any questions of staff at this time?
Everything has been resolved as we asked for?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Just want to make sure.
The applicant's here also if you have any questions.
Okay.
Where's the designated area? Is where it is now?
No, it's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry, yeah, it's going to be towards the center of the property because they have to maintain 125 feet from this residential and from this residential. So actually, it could be here or it could be in this section.
So the same place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
I got a lot more to carry now that I got a gift at this meeting.
Everybody
Good
come to the
evening,
meeting.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the Commission. Again, happy birthday.
Thank you.
My name is Jana Loda. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Holland & Knight at 515 East Las Olas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. As Ms. LaJoy just indicated, we did, between first and second reading, took great strides to hear what the Commission said at first reading and incorporate it into the revised text of the proposed request that's before you tonight. We believe that we've addressed all your concerns. I had very pointed conversations with our client, who unfortunately had to leave during this meeting and is not here at this time, who spoke with the Park and Fly regarding the placement of vehicles in designated parking spots and the types of vehicles that were parked there. And as I drove by there today, I see that there's been a notable improvement that hopefully you've seen as well. And we ask for your favorable consideration on this item.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Grace?
Yes.
Commissioner Salvino?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harris?
Yes.
Mayor James?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next two items involving Frank O'Carey on behalf of ACP Partners and the Fort Lauderdale Hospitality. These are called quasi-judicial hearings. Anybody who's going to address the commission, including staff, needs to be sworn in under state law. Anybody who's going to speak, other than lawyers are not testifying, but anybody else will be considered as testifying. You swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thanks very much. Please be seated. Commissioner, if you've been contacted either for or against either of these things, let me know. one after I've read this first one here. 9.2 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving a special exception, SC 11617, to permit the rental of automobiles pursuant to a request submitted by Frank O'Carey on behalf of the property owner, ACP Partners, LLC, for property located at 4101 Ravenswood Road, Suite 104A, in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to the resolution. Providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening. Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is a special exception request, and the property is located at 4101 Ravenswood Road. And the special exception is to allow automobile rental use. It is a permitted use in the C3 as a special exception. There are no violations on the property, and the item was properly advertised. The subject property is a current location. It's in a built site, so it's like an office complex. It's called the Airport Commerce Center. It is on Ravenswood Road. It's approximately 6.5 acres. It's a pretty large site. It is located west of the airport, which is probably part of the appeal for the rental company. The applicant currently has a lease for 3 bays fronting on Ravenswood and 2 additional bays immediately behind it for a total of 1,500 square feet. The lease that they have also includes the 20 parking spaces, so to accommodate those vehicles that they're renting. This is the site. So the bays that they're renting are down in this corner of the property. The land development regulations identifies 11 criteria for granting a special exception use. Those criteria are identified in your staff report as well, and the applicant has provided a letter identifying how their requests are consistent with those criteria. And as a result, the city is recommending approval of the special exception request, the resolution, and there's a representative of the applicant here if you have any questions for them.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Move the item.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Grace?
Yes.
Commissioner Salvino?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harris?
Yes.
Mayor James?
Yes.
Thank you.
9.3 is an ordinance, excuse me, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the site plan, special exception, SB 00316, special exception SC 00416, and variances VA 9717, VA 9817, VA 3117, VA 3217, and VA 3317, submitted by Hope Calhoun Esquire on behalf of the property owner, Fort Lauderdale Hospitality, Inc., for the property located at 2460 West State Road 84 in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy which is attached to this resolution, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening. This application is for a site plan, but with the site plan is also a special exception and several variances. The property is located on State Road 84. It has a commercial land use and zoning designation. There are no violations, open violations on the property, and advertisement was properly done for the item. The subject property itself is located on the south side of State Road 84 and west of Interstate 95. The property is approximately 5.2 acres, and it's the current location of a 270-room hotel, the Red Carpet Inn, that also has a lobby restaurant as part of that facility. There is a new hotel that's being proposed for 100 rooms, and it's proposed to be located in the northeast corner of the site where there's currently surface parking. So both hotel facilities will exist. The applicant's proposing to redevelop the lobby restaurant as well and brand it as a Denny's restaurant. Work is to be done in phases, which each of the phases starting immediately following the first, with the final phase, which would be the new hotel, beginning construction April of 2019. That's our projections at this time. And this is what the site looks like today, so you can see that there is the existing hotel and restaurant on the north side of that property.
Could you go back and show me where the new hotel is going to be? It's going to be behind that?
Oh, what happened?
Uh-oh.
Going the wrong way. Sorry. Okay. So it's going to go in this corner. They're going to, knock this down, and I think they're going to build it like a little bit closer, tuck it into the building so that there's going to be room for the hotel here.
I remember it. Okay.
Okay, so the hotel use requires a special exception. And as I previously stated with the previous item, the land development regulations identifies 11 criteria for special exceptions that talks about compatibility of the use. So those criteria are identified in the staff report as well, and the applicant has provided a justification statement identifying how their requests are consistent with those criteria. There are several variances that they are requesting tonight. The first is to allow the building height of 6 stories and 74 feet, with the land development regulations permit the maximum of 3 stories, 40 feet in this area for this particular zoning designation. The second variance is to allow a maximum pervious area of 83%, where the land development regulation establishes the minimum impervious at 75. The third variance is to allow 15% of the vehicle use area, requires 15% of the vehicle, the variance, I'm sorry, is to allow 15% of the vehicle use area in landscaping. The code requires 20. They're also requesting to provide 327 parking spaces, where the land development code for both hotels would require 473. And they're requesting to allow 6 parking spaces where the land development, bicycle parking, where the land development code requires 26. As similar with the special exception, variances have criteria that are identified in the land development regulations as well. Those are identified in the staff report, and the applicant has been able to identify how their requests are consistent with those criteria. They've also provided a parking study identifying that the need for those, for the parking spaces that they're providing matches the needs of the hotels. I know we're pretty familiar with hotels in the city at this point. The proximity to the airport and seaport, they generally have shuttles, and with the prevalence of these Ubers and taxis and everything, so the need for the parking is generally less than what the code requires, and that seems to be the case in this case as well, and they've provided, studies to justify that as well. The site plan also is being proposed for approval tonight. As part of the site plan, in addition to the special exception that needs to be granted for the use, there's also conditions of approval that are identified in the land development regulations. So it's another layer of design requirements actually for the hotel in this case. And those requirements are that the guest accesses via an interior corridor, that individual wall or window-mounted air conditioning may not project beyond the wall of the building, so they'd be flush-mounted, and that there must be at least 100 guest rooms. So this proposed hotel meets all of those conditions of use. Because it is requesting site plan review as well, it went through the Development Review Committee for review 2 occasions, on January and as well as April of 2017. And the Development Review Committee, as you know, includes staff from BSO Fire, Public Services, the city's landscape consultant, and the Community Development Department's Planning Division. The applicant does have outstanding comments that still need to be addressed prior to the issuance of the building permit, which they are aware of, and they will work towards addressing prior to that occurring. The outstanding comments that result from the DRC are identified in the resolution, so if you approve the resolution, those will automatically become conditions of approval. And the traffic impact analysis was prepared by Kimley Horn, October 2016, and was submitted by the applicant and was approved by the city engineer and accepted as complete. This is the site plan that they're proposing, so this kind of shows you where the new hotel will be here and the restaurant will be tucked up next to the existing hotel.
Right.
And this is the elevation of the new hotel building. This is the elevation, the northern elevation. So this is the part of the building that will be facing the roadway, State Road 84. That concludes staff's presentation. We're recommending approval of the resolution, and the applicant, there's a representative for the applicant here as well to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Grace?
Corinne,
Yes, ma'am.
it's been a while since we've taken a look at this from the beginning. Have the logistics been worked out between the 2 hotels? Because I think that the concern was the Red Carpet Inn didn't want their sign blocked and make sure that the parking was going to be adequate so that they didn't have problems with their patrons getting in and out, so.
Right. Well, I recall that they attended, the neighboring property owners attended one meeting, and the applicant for this item was able to meet with them and discuss their issues, and I haven't heard from them since then, so I assume that has been resolved.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Corinne, what issues are still not resolved? Because I saw that you said that there were several, right?
Yes.
Well,
They've
is there
addressed
anything major?
No, no. If there was anything major that would require either a variance or a major redesign, we wouldn't allow them to come forward. These are things that we believe that they can address as they refine the plans further before going to permit.
Okay.
Commissioner Salvino?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I remember talking about this before, as Commissioner Grace said. How big is the how many floors is the hotel next to it that they want to build? There's already
The neighboring property?
Well, they already have a hotel there. They wanna
Okay,
build
the
next to it.
existing hotel, I believe, is, I want to say 3 stories tall today. But it has, how many rooms did I identify?
I don't know.
140 something?
271 exists today.
Already exists.
Yes.
And then the question, what didn't we have discussion on this about where the placement of the hotel was going to go in the restaurant the last time we had this come up?
I think it was the question was raised about the placement of the new hotel and the approximate, as it approximated the neighbor's property. Because I think they were concerned that that building was going to be too far out onto the street and would block the visibility.
We already voted on it.
We did.
They came months ago.
Yeah, I remember.
Both members came.
Question because but we voted on that, but I don't think was the 6 stories involved at that point.
No.
Next to 3 stories.
I believe it wasn't that with the plat amendment? I think it had to do with the plat. It wasn't the site plan, so we didn't have the building in front of us at that time. Yeah.
All right, just checking. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
So all the comments have been reviewed, the DRC passed everything?
There are some comments that still need to be addressed. The applicant's aware of them, but they are things that can be addressed and fixed with the building permit.
Okay.
So there's nothing that's insurmountable at this point.
Okay. And Chicky mentioned something about the AC units, but those are flush with the outside walls.
That's correct. That's one of the conditions of the use. So
But
they have to be flush mounted.
Entrance to the rooms is from a common hallway.
Interior.
Okay,
Correct.
interior hallway, so the
Mhm.
rooms are on either side of the
Right,
hallway.
so that's not the old-fashioned motel kind
Right,
of style.
it's not a motel, it's a
Right.
hotel, and it's a Wingate brand.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And then the new restaurant will be a Denny's, so.
Correct.
I mean, based with that area, I think those brands are compatible with our.
You're a hotel specialist.
I am. I mean, it's an upscale brand from what we have existing,
It is.
so I would
it'll
say
be nice.
it's a new brand, too. It's more centered for millennial travelers, and, with the parking the way it is and the shuttles to the airport, I get it with the parking being less, and unless there are any other comments.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah, well, since he's a hotel man, tell me something then. If it's a hotel man, how the heck come they don't have central air?
They do.
Then what do they need these units for?
No, it's
Just curious.
every
All hotels.
Who is a facilities person here, an engineer? Come on up.
Oh, good.
It's a public hearing, so I just want to, when I walk into like a Marriott Courtyard, I adjust the temperature, and the unit is right under the windows.
On the window, yes.
And you can,
Hello.
low, medium, or high.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Good to see you.
Yes.
This is what we're talking about right now.
Yes. Right.
Please state your name and
My
address
name
for
is
the record.
Marcos Fins, and I'm the owner of the Rahway Inn and Suite, the property next to the...
Right, east of it, right?
east of it.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
to answer your question, the reason that each room has a unit is because each individual room has to use the room, the air condition. You don't put air conditioning, a central air condition in a hotel. Okay, you only put a central air condition for the hallways, the lobbies, the restaurant. So
common area.
therefore, all hotels, they...
That's all. Just never noticed it.
Just look down.
Oh, you need to look up. The last one I was in was up.
So it's not a central HVAC system, it's more like a split unit
A
for
split
each
unit,
room.
yes.
That's flush to the wall, so you don't really see it from the
That's
outside.
correct. That's correct. We have them in the other properties, and
Thank you.
in reference to what they're presenting, okay, we had discussed it with our neighbor, and we're very all excited because it happened that we both are working at the same time with the same idea of
Yep.
adding more rooms because there is a need for more rooms.
Sure.
Thank God, okay, for 6 months on a row, we were oversold. In other words, we were...
Good problem.
Yes. And
Nice problem.
so that is a that what it incite us even more to proceed with the projection that we had already for 3 years, and we're working with the architects and so forth, so on.
Is it
So-
going to be finished before the Super Bowl?
What's that?
Super Bowl.
For Super Bowl? It may be.
Okay.
Maybe.
It may be, so...
Well, thank you.
It all
No,
depends.
just
So,
one more thing about the heating and cooling systems being a split unit is that they're more energy efficient because you're not cooling rooms that are not occupied.
that's correct, sir. That's correct, sir. That's
You go,
important.
Oh, you go, Bill.
But, you know, we're all excited about Dania Beach because it's growing so much, and, you know, with the airport and with the port growing, we continue having more tourists coming down.
Absolutely.
So we want to be able to facilitate a nice unit. You know, we have constantly been improving and redecorating our rooms so that when they come in, that they are satisfied.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
we thank you very much, but
Thank you.
we are all for this.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. This is a public hearing. Anyone here to speak for or against it?
Hi, good evening. For the record, my name is Christina Belenke with Dunning, Miskell, and Backman. My address is 14 Southeast 4th Street in Boca Raton, Florida. I just wanted to say I'm here on behalf of the applicant, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have on this application.
Thank you.
Make a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the project.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Grace?
Yes.
Commissioner Salvino?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harris?
Yes.
Mayor James?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are on discussion and possible action. The beach dune stabilization, Assistant City Manager.
Yes, Mayor. I know the commissioners have been speaking with the city manager about some of the more recent erosion effects on our beach. Since we completed a portion of Phase 1, our dune enhancement program through Hurricane Irma, king tides, and other unnamed storms, there's been severe erosion, so much so that we keep on retreating our lifeguard stands into our dunes. And as the mayor reported and stated to the city, we lost about 70% of the planting from the dune project that we completed last year. Now, the dunes are doing their work. They're protecting our investment on our beach and our parking lot. I mean, they're there to absorb the energy of the ocean. However, part of the waves are hitting our new northern bathroom, our renovated bathroom, and we want to take some immediate action to start planning for Phase 2 of our Beach Master Plan. You may recall that looks to add a seawall. It looks to enhance the dunes once more, and also looks perhaps to raise the parking lot as a resiliency effort. We had gone into the beach program through a pay-as-you-go system, and currently we're doing burying the power lines, and we're doing the bathroom, the marina bathroom right now that we're getting ready to go out to bid on that project, hopefully at the next meeting. As those projects progress, we want to start the planning process to move along with Phase 2. The Broward County is working on the nourishment project, and that's actually putting sand in the water. We're doing all our improvements, what are called upland improvements, outside the tidal area. There's a lot of permitting involved and a lot of design work that has to get done. We'd like to start that process now so that we can have a completed project that would dovetail with Broward County, their Segment 3 nourishment project. I've asked Nicole Sharp to come address the City Commission several months ago. She's been under a cone of silence, but I wanted her to give the city an update on Segment 3. We're part of a Segment 3, which is a federal project that's going to put, it's going to re-nourish the sand. That hasn't happened since 2005. And Broward County estimates are we lose about 5 feet of beach a year. It's getting to be more of a serious matter, so we want to take the opportunity to do the design in order to protect our improvements. Tonight, Mr. Tyler Chappelle is here. Tyler is part of the design team that worked on Phase 1, and he's done a lot of environmental work for us, particularly with the marina, and most recently with our dredging project on the Whiskey Creek Northern Dock. So I'm going to ask Mr. Chappelle to come up and just to address some of the environmental concerns and some of the processes that we're talking about.
Thank you, Colin. Mayor?
Good evening. I don't know. Oh, you turned it off. Red means on. Oh, there it
There
is.
we go. Is that all right? You can hear
Yep.
me? Okay.
It's really short, huh?
Oh.
There you go.
All right. Thank you. We've met with the city and the county. In fact, the cone of silence is ended today as far as the county's contract was for Segment 3 was voted on this morning for the County Commission and was approved to move forward with the design and permitting for Segment 3. The anticipated construction date for that is probably around 2020, depending on
2021.
design and permitting. So the goal for the city was to try to facilitate and as Colin mentioned, to dovetail into that project so that our component and our improvements for the city are done in anticipation of that project coming online in 2020. The improvements that are proposed in Phase 2 of the master plan are things such as reconfiguration of the parking lot, widening the dune, moving the dune to the west, putting in a beach walk, also doing some drainage improvements and also in raising that parking, all of which require permitting with DEP and the agencies involved for regulatory, which all take some time to develop and ultimately go into construction. So we thought that it would be a good time to start that process so that we didn't miss the window of when Segment 3 would come online. And with that, I'll answer any questions you might have. Just to recap on some of the components that were talked about, you know, the beach renourishment has not been done in Dania since 2005, 2006. The beaches were widened at that time by 200 feet, so you can imagine how much sand has eroded over those, you know, the last 13 years. As far as the parking, in Phase 1, there was no real changes to the parking spaces. There's 550 parking spaces out there currently existing. Phase 2 brings you in at 572. So that gives you 413 spaces in Central Beach and 159 in Tootie Atler Park. And then Phase 3, the next, you know, there's 3 phases, which would also bring in additional open space as well as a potential parking garage, would add another 946 spaces. So the whole master plan takes you from 550 to a little over 1,500 parking spaces, which is, you know, a revenue generator for the city, in addition to the components that have been such a success for the city, which is the restaurant and the marina. As far as the wall and the drainage, the wall is a retaining wall that would be, if you were to envision the parking lot, there's the first set of parking stalls that are up against the dune currently. We would be removing that first row of parking, and that's where the wall more or less is proposed to be set, so that dune would then come farther into the parking lot and up to accommodate a wider dune as well as get us at a higher elevation given the king tides that we're having and obviously sea level rise in the future. So those are kind of just a quick summary of the concepts that were developed for Phase 2.
Commissioner Savino.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm loaded with stuff. You would say?
Me too.
Okay. I met with Colin and Bob, Tyler, and Nicole this week in regards to the beach renourishment. Just to let everybody know that what's some of the issues that are out there, if you're not aware of it, you know, we just can't pull a bulldozer on the beach because of turtle season, and can't touch the water because of the rules with the coral reefs. So limited to what we can do out there as a city, even if we had the funds to do it. The other thing is I did ask Tyler and the Phase 2 project while we're doing this to immediately in the city to ask them if we could take and put some concrete barriers around our bathroom before it falls in, and put it around there as a support and then fill it in with sand so that we can, hold that up and try to protect our bathroom over there. Some of the question, I'm asked, I would put this on the agenda to hopefully ask the commission to step up and approve Phase 2, whether or not Colin can explain maybe some of the funding where we can get it from, but I thought we should get on this immediately to save our beach. But one of the questions I had on the parking, when you went on that, and I look on the design here, the going over to the marina area where I see that some of that parking is there, and we're obligated, I think, to supply some of those parking spots to the residents of the boats. Is that correct?
Yeah, the marina, we've set aside a certain amount of spaces for the marina.
That number he's talking about also includes taking some of those off for the marina. Is that right?
Well, conceptually, there would be a new parking plan down there. How the marina would play into it, we
okay.
would have to look into that.
And then the other thing I had mentioned at the meeting, too, as far as parking goes, is to have the city try to renew our contract with the university down there and see if we could work out a parking deal with them and maybe address Broward County like we did on our parking garage here, see if they would be willing to front the money to build that up, spread some of the revenue with the college in return for the to maybe redo their lease, and then we could have more parking in a parking garage as well. So there's a lot of things that we can address, but tonight, hopefully, with all our comments and stuff, maybe we can approve to get them started right away with some kind of a financial report that we can do. Thank you.
Commissioner Grace?
Yes, I was at a function on last Sunday with Commissioner Tim Ryan, and I pulled him to the side because we have lost a lot of sand from our beach, and I asked for some help from Broward County. And at that meeting, he assured me that he was going to be setting up a meeting, and I forgot the lady's name, but I asked him to reach out to the mayor because that meeting was going to be held on Monday in his office. We cannot wait until we're right in the middle of hurricane season has started. So we really can't afford to lose any more of our beach. As we just did the rebrand and see it, we're not going to have a sea. Live it, love it. It's not going to be there for us. So I know that they're working with Washington D.C., but we need, and I don't want to say a quick fix, but we desperately need some help to help us with our beach right now. So
I can give you an update.
You're going to give me an update on it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I heard somewhere yesterday about a post-Irma, $1 billion pot of money. Were you going to you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead.
I mean, I heard about it, so I don't know any of the details, but I heard that it's something that we can tap into perhaps and get our share from the county. And Nicole Sharp's name was mentioned, so
yep.
What's the 411 on that?
Do you know? You can speak.
There is an FDEP grant that the county and actually other counties throughout the state go after. It is a pot of money, and that is something that we can look at teaming up with not only Broward County but applying on our own. It's better to team with the larger players, and this would be an opportunity for that. That is due in October, so it's coming up very quickly. Yeah. So we would have to, formulate that and make that teaming agreement.
So would we team up with Dania Beach, Hollywood, and Hallandale, or with the county, or how does that work?
It was my understanding through my discussions with Nicole Sharp at the county that it would be something that we would do with them directly.
Mayor, there is also Nicole Sharp also informed us that the Army Corps of Engineers has an appropriation from Congress regarding Irma, and they would be doing a project aside from Broward County, aside from Dania Beach, where they would go and they would go and put sand on the beach. We're still waiting to hear what the Army Corps is looking to do. So that's part of that funding. The other funding for Irma is coming in the way of mitigation grants. And the next commission meeting will have approval resolutions. We'll be applying for mitigation grants for Irma to harden our buildings and to, for generators and also to improve our sanitary sewer lift station system.
Well, okay, I'll speak a little bit on, I had a meeting on yesterday with Commissioner Tim Ryan, Nicole, and Mayor Levy. And number one, I'm just a little disappointed that I've had to go all around the world and not go to city staff to get information when I've had residents and even my own concerns, and none of it has been addressed with myself. Now, the meeting that I had, the one thing I do want to say about this phase 2, and I understand that we've been in the news, we understand the needs of our beach. It's a huge concern to all of us. Do understand, when we're speaking about moving this parking lot back, that's land we'll never get back. I do want us to understand that is land that we will never get back. There is an option, and so it'll be a hot spot, and where the grant that he's speaking about with Broward County, that is separate from the Army Corps of Engineers, and it won't be an interference with them because we're not going into the reefs or into the water, but we'll be addressing it more so on the sand that we already have. That will supply that Band-Aid for us at no cost to the city. And so this can happen as early as October, as was stated. But this is something that I have been speaking with Mayor Levy in conjunction to. And before, I was on board with this. But if we have an option that can happen as early as October, because understand, Nicole told me yesterday that when it's approved, which was approved this morning, it will take 3 years for it to possibly get to us. By then, we will not have any beach. And so we do have to be proactive in what we're doing. I think that I'm not sure if I would want to move forward with everything in phase 2 as far as moving the parking lot, because if what they're giving us from funding from post-Hurricane Irma is going to come into the city and is going to do a great deal at helping us save our beach, I think that will be awesome instead of us footing the bill. And again, once we move our parking lot and once we give up that land, we're never going to get that back. And for us to move it back and not get sand for 3 years, we're going to be back in the same exact predicament. We are losing sand at a very rapid rate. It says 5 feet per year, but I think it's more than that. I can challenge that. I believe it's more than that. So I think it's something that we really need to take a look at, especially if we are going to get funding. It is $1 billion or so that the county will receive. I have spoken to Commissioner Tim Ryan. They do think that we have a really good chance of receiving this funding, especially the dire need that our beach is in, and it's in October. So I'm not sure what we want to do as a commission, but we really need to pay attention on the decisions that we do make in moving our parking lot back, if we are going to get additional funding and additional resources as far as sand. Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah. Well, as I recall, when we made this into different phases, the reason for moving the parking lot back is because we were raising the street. If you go there now during any storm, the sand and the water is in the street. So that street must be raised.
It can still be raised. I'm not saying don't raise the street. I'm saying don't take the parking lot back. You can.
Right.
You can still raise the street.
That's what I agree on. As long as we raise the street, that's very important.
Commissioner Salvino.
Yeah. Listen, I like not to move it back, but just as a question, isn't phase 2 designed to move the street back? Wasn't it already concepted that way? That we already approved that and looked at all the plans of it? It's not like we're moving it back for this purpose. It was already designed that way, wasn't it?
Okay, go ahead.
The concept that was approved by the commission was to reconfigure the parking, all of the parking, not just that first row. And the reason, there was a couple reasons for that relocation was, one, it was to widen the dune, but it was also to give a beach walk. So they were going to have the dune, then you were going to have a pedestrian beach walk, and then you were going to have parking.
Right, but that was but the plans show it already that
correct.
We looked at.
That's
moved
correct.
back.
That's correct.
No, I understand that, but we haven't approved this funding, correct?
No, we haven't. No, listen, I'm
No, no,
okay
no.
with whatever you get. I mean, if you get the
No,
money.
that's what I'm saying. We already, because I approved it too, is what I'm
Okay.
saying. But now since something else have come in front of us saying that we'll be able to,
So if we started it, I mean, they wouldn't give us the money? If we started moving this, our phase two, they wouldn't give us the funding to put?
I'm not sure. I'm just not sure how much sense that makes to take away land from us that we'll never get back if we're going to get sand
We're-
for
we're
free.
taking it in the, that's what I'm trying to say. It's already taken back in the plans we've approved. We're not taking anything more than what's already been approved by us on the conceptual drawings.
I understand what you're saying. I don't
Well,
think you
I'm
understand what I'm saying.
confused.
Well, then both of you explain.
Oh, I already did.
saying-
Assistant City Manager?
Yeah, the concept of moving those dunes backwards is to make the beach more resilient. We're going to see the county do the Segment 3 project. I think what we're planning for is, once that sand is put on the beach, waiting for the next round of nourishment, bigger, stronger, larger dunes are what's going to protect the beach with the changing in the climate. So with worse king tides and worse storms, those dunes are, the job is to protect the beach. That's why the retreat into the parking lot and the redesigning is an environmental and a resiliency move. I understand the design and the consideration for the loss of parking, but you know, if the beach remains vulnerable, there just may not be parking. So I think that's the idea and the concept behind the design. And as far as just the point of tonight's addressing this is to seek permission to start the process, and that would be to get cost estimates on what design is going to be and to work out a financing plan. If we go ahead with a design, we don't have to build, but we should start designing now for the point of when we get ready to build.
Okay.
Design will take a while, as well as contracting out to do the work. Additionally, I haven't had the opportunity to talk about any hotspot grants or issues with the permitting, but all my discussions with Broward County regarding nourishment going back the last 5 years is that, and this is discussion with Hollywood and Hallandale, is that Hollywood went and did their own hotspot permit, and they funded that through their CRA. Hallandale went and designed a project to protect their structures as well. However, it's my understanding they haven't gone forward with their project because of concerns of cost and also mitigation issues. If we're to damage the coral reef, we would have to pay for mitigation issues. So those were the concerns, and also the permitting, the time. I think at a minimum, whatever, if we were to try and put sand on our beach, that would be a minimum of 2 years. So we're going right into the Broward County Segment 3
No,
program.
what I just spoke with Commissioner about, it would not be 2 years. So I don't know if we need to all get on the same page, have a conversation with our county commissions, and all, understand this thoroughly before we make a decision that, we may or may not regret. I don't know, but yeah, it is a financial decision as well. And if we can cut out part of phase 2, not the entire thing, but if we can save some of our land, I understand what you want to do, but you can still do that if we have more sand. And so I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with voting on this. I don't have enough knowledge about it from our county and from environmentalists and from things that are going to not only just protect us, but protect our environment and our wildlife as well.
Well, I think going ahead with the design will bear those questions out about the process and what we need to do. Again, tonight we're not looking to appropriate any money or authorize anybody to sign a contract. We're looking to see if there's enough interest from the City Commission to start exploring and looking how we might procure design services and to bring you a financing plan. And again, the financing plan is going to depend on what the final design is going to be. Currently, our biggest revenue producer down there is the parking lot. We currently have $2 million in the parking reserve. That would be enough to, if we have a contract that you would approve, we could start from there. Also, the parking revenue could be used for a revenue bond in the future, and we also have our reserves. So we're very far away from taking those steps. Again, initially we're looking at moving forward and looking at procuring design services.
How
and
much
that will well, I have to speak with Mr. Chappelle and see what processes we need to do. We have to go through the CCNA process to hire a design. We have contractors on we went out an RFP for engineers, so we'll have to look into that process as to get scopes of work in order to bring that back to you. That's the work I would like to start. And in that time, we can have a discussion with Commissioner Ryan's office and Nicole Sharp, perhaps have her come and address the City Commission now that she's no longer under the cone of silence, and we can have a better
What's the cone
understanding.
of silence? Because I spoke to her yesterday.
Well, speaking about the cone of silence would be regarding segment 3, and that's putting sand on the beach, putting sand in the water, not necessarily a dune project.
Okay. I would like to table this and
Can I
at
speak
least
for me?
until, oh, okay. Commissioner Savino.
Okay, I just want to clarify one thing, and we can do whatever everybody wants to do, but I'm trying to understand that what changed, that we did phase 1, it's complete, where phase 2 is already designed. And does phase 2 design show that we move back the parking and put a seawall in?
The phase 2 that was designed in the concept for the master plan did show moving,
Okay,
yes,
so-
the dune back.
So that was my point. So I mean, my point is, we've already approved that, and we're looking to try to save our beach, and is there something different between the seawall and the dunes that are different that we're not asking for? I'm missing it here.
I am looking to have other options other than moving the parking lot back that was
So then
already
we're going to
approved.
redesign the whole plan again then?
I do not know. What I do want to do is speak to our county administrators at a workshop, or our city manager or assistant city manager or whoever's in charge with us can speak to someone so we can thoroughly understand the decision that we are about to make.
I thought we already made a decision. That's
We, any other discussion? No. Go ahead.
I don't want to rechange these plans after all the money we spent making these plans.
I understand that.
I'm
It's not, I'm not saying that I want to necessarily rechange the plans. I want to look at all of our options since we have other factors that have come into play since the few years that I've been here and nothing has been done.
But that shouldn't stop us from just voting yes or no as far as going through it, looking into it.
It's going to cost us money to look into it.
Yeah, but look how many other things we spent money on looking into.
Well, that's fine. Y'all do what you want to do. We just won't have a beach, y'all. Okay. Do we have a assistant city manager?
Yeah, one last comment. You know, the phase 1 of the dune project, I mean, the phase 1 of the project was part of, was a very protective measure. We used to be able to just walk right onto the beach between these gaps. We filled in those gaps and strengthened the dunes and put the walkover on. That's a tremendous environmental advantage, and that saved a lot of sand and everything else going into our parking lot during Irma. And we also built dunes on the northern end. It's our working understanding with Broward County. The Segment 3 project is going to be more expensive than it was in 2005, not only due to inflation, but there's also the consideration of the cost of more environmental factors and more monitoring post projects. So as we move forward with it's a difficult situation because we're not driving the train. And what we're trying to do is the thing that we can control, and that's the upland, the dunes, the walkovers, and those designs down at the beach. That's what we're looking to design. Thank you.
Okay. Well,
And I'll just say that, our team that we had for phase 1 is committed to whatever direction you give us. So
Thank you. I
we're here
appreciate
to
that.
support you in any way we can.
Thank you.
And it was, I think our master plan was good, but it is concept. So obviously we're going to have changes
Right.
when we go from, concept to reality. That's life. So we'll take that into consideration and look for that input. So.
Okay.
Because there's been so much press about it and, videos and everything, you as the expert, what can we do to show the residents what we are doing within the next 30 days, that what we are doing to shore up that beach? What can we do immediately?
Well, I think the best thing you can do is show that you're committed to do something in the future. You have the signage out there now, which is showing that, you've corned off the areas that are being, rehabbed. You've removed some of the trees that were damaged, and some of them we were able to replace and replant. But you're going to have that issue. The good news is that it's the summer. Yes, it's hurricane season, but naturally dunes replenish themselves in the summer. That's the natural occurrence of a dune. It's torn away in the winter and put back in the summer. So it will get better. You might not see, obviously a huge dune, but the sand is going to come back during the summer months.
Okay, well.
That's what it is.
Oh, well, if it was, we can't go off of what ifs, but you guys can choose to do what you want. I'm not comfortable supporting this until I continue speaking with neighboring cities. So.
Okay. I'd like to ask the commission to at least move on with the what Assistant City Manager is requesting, to see what we can do to get this beach back on track as soon as possible.
Well, that's not what they're. This is about a design phase, not to get the beach back on track.
Okay, whatever way Colin would like to state it, Mayor.
If I may reiterate, we're looking for general direction from the Commission to pursue Phase 2, elements of Phase 2, and that would start with procuring the professional design team to move forward with that. There will be more opportunity you'll have to review funding, you'll have to review contracts and scopes of work, so there'll be more opportunity to discuss this. I would like to know the Commission's wishes so we can start that process.
Well, my wish would be to approve that so we could get moving.
Is that a motion?
Commissioner Grace?
Yes.
If we decide to go forward, at a tune of what type of monies are we talking about financially? Because I'm telling you right now, if we don't replace that sand, we're not going to have a beach. I mean, all this other stuff is going to be repetitious.
Yeah, like rebranding, right?
So can you answer that, Colin?
Well, from our 2014 master plan, and the economics are in the left-hand corner of the map in front of you, the price tag for Phase 2, keep in mind these are older numbers, is $6.8 million.
It was the biggest one.
That's for the whole complete project.
And that's for the total project. Now, if we talk with our financiers and our financing plan and whatever granting agencies there are, and we're limited as to the scope of our funding, we can proceed as we have done before and do it in various steps, various phases. But the idea would be initially to look at that sea wall and creating a larger dune to protect the investment at the beach.
What about a beach bond?
A beach pond? Well, yeah, the financing really would come from the parking revenue. That's right. That would be one of the elements.
Okay. Well, I made a motion to do that.
Made a motion?
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Grace?
No.
Commissioner Salvino?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harris?
Yes.
Mayor James?
No.
Carried 3-2. Thank you.
City policy concerning funding parks and recreation and city programs. I asked for this to be on the agenda because I think there needs to be discussion. I don't know if there needs to be an ordinance or a resolution. I'm not sure whichever one is most appropriate. But for these the programs that the city gives funding to annually, and it goes through Parks and Recreation, I'm unsure. Number one, why these organizations, there's a stipulation on what they can spend the fundings on or not. If all of the funding is going through Parks and Recreation, I'm unsure of why city employees' cards are being suspended for doing commission wishes. I'm unsure of how the finance department is working all together to write employees up and suspend their cards. And so as far as even Commissioner Brandemarty's senior program, the Gracefully Aging program, and the MLK program, if we are giving them a certain amount of money and all of the funding, the receipts, the invoices is going through Parks and Recreation, if a Park and Recreation employee is asked to pay for something that is concerning that organization, I'm unsure of who gives the authorization to write an employee up and say they're violating a park procedure and not give them their P card back unless they assume guilt on something that we've already said they weren't guilty of. And so I don't know what policy there needs to be, but some of these organizations are 501c3 and they do have to pay certain fees. And there needs to be something written so that everyone can be on the same page.
Yes, Mayor. Just in regard to the purchasing rules or control of the P cards is done by our finance department. There was just a lack of communication in the matter that you're talking to on a few different parts. It's been rectified. The matter having to do with spending and what's taken out of a club, what's not taken out of a club, Ms. Satterfield's documented in a memo. As you can see, we operate in a few different ways because we've got different types of clubs. They're not all the same, and the way we've worked with different clubs has changed over time. I know with Commissioner Brandemarty's senior club, the Parks and Rec, they buy and take in all their, they plan their events and they pay their bills, and that's all done through our procurement policy. I know with Gracefully Aging, it works the same way. We have the example of several years ago with the Martin Luther King Committee. Now that was a city-funded event and project where at one point the committee members were submitting receipts and not following our procurement policies. So it was suggested at the time that they form a 501c3 corporation, whereas then we could make a donation directly to them, and they could they wouldn't have to follow procurement policies. They could go out and provide the goods and services for the Martin Luther King Day event, which was a dinner, it was a day in the park, and it was a parade. There were some subsequent issues with that, and the City Commission discussed it. They had a new path on how to deal with that. They limited the funding over there, and the City Commission and the Parks and Rec took over that project and funded it directly. I think what the other issue standing here is today is what the city can and cannot pay for. We don't pay for third-party bills, and so I know in the past, speaking with Mark Felicity, he would get payments from the senior club and he would renew their 501c applications. And then also he had done it another way. He had put through 501c3 payments through our purchasing system on the P card. Now that, that we didn't catch that. We caught it this time. However, if a private organization is going to form and make and establish themselves, that that private organization should pay those fees. But that doesn't stop the city from doing what it had done before and making a donation to a 501c3 corporation to help fund it and to do its works. I think in the memo we've had several examples down there of the way it works. A possible way to fund I'll call it the new Martin Luther King Association. That they were looking for to pay the establishment of that 501c3. I don't know what's been established yet. But
well,
the city
I paid it, and I need to be reimbursed.
So the city can make a donation to that new organization, and the new organization can work the same way we've done in the past, work in partnership with the city and the Parks and Recreation Department, and plan for the Martin Luther King Day event. It's my further understanding that the new Martin Luther to continue the fine work of scholarships and those type of things. And that's best done through a 501c3 corporation. With some seed money, and I know that we've got about $4,000 left in the Martin Luther King Day appropriation. That might be good seed money to start the organization out, from which they can then do their fundraising for scholarships, whatever they need to do, and then they can work hand in glove with the Parks and Rec.
Well, that's what we tried to do as the city manager, and number one, we couldn't do it because our Parks Director still doesn't have his P card back, and number two, because they were told that they couldn't organize it through that. So I paid with my money to get it organized from the same funds that you're speaking of that we could have went through, and the finance director, who's not here, decided to say, no, we can't, and so I didn't want city staff to put their money up for it, so I paid for it. So I do need my money back from whoever,
Mayor, the difference would be that in the scenario that you're discussing, the city would have directly paid
I have the
to pay
solution.
the corporation, and so I think that was the proper thing to do. But what can be done now that it's established would be and what the city commission would have to do. In order for that donation to take place, it would have to be a city commission action and a donation through your part. And then that way we can submit funds to the new Martin Luther King Association, and you can take care of your reimbursement and your bills through that process.
Commissioner Grace?
It's a very easy fix. We don't have to sit up here all night trying to figure it out. All you got to do is put your minds together. I spoke to you, Colin, about this. We want to make sure that we do each organization, Gracefully Aging, the Dania Seniors, and the new Martin Luther King Renaissance Corporation the same.
Thank you.
So everything will be coming out of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you.
What I like that you and I talked about, because we had monies left over from this year, which was $4,900 and some dollars, that we would use that money as the setup of the 501c3, and then from this time on, when we do the budget for the fiscal year for Gracefully Aging, for the Dr. Martin Luther King Renaissance Corporation, for the seniors, everything will go through the proper channels of Parks and Recreation. Easy fix.
That doesn't fix, they said that they can't pay the fee.
Yes, it will. It will fix it, because what we're going to authorize, if we do, is to give the city manager and finance the direction to use the monies that we have left over for the 501c3, and then starting from this budget that we're going to approve in September, each entity would go under the Parks and Recreation, and they will write the checks for everything else. So we will have the funds that we need for, and then we can reimburse you the $200 and some dollars that we owe you, and pay for
got a 6-year-old.
other expenditures. It's easy.
Commissioner Brandon Martin?
First of all, a 501c, if I'm not mistaken, gives you the right to raise funds. Is that true?
And
Correct.
Yes.
Wait, hang on there, now,
Okay.
you guys, hang on there. Then how come the seniors, we've been a 501c, right? And we weren't even allowed, according to the city attorney, to even have a bingo unless it was that you gave away a gift. You could not make money, right, Carolyn Lee? Thank you.
That's state law. It's gambling.
Oh, y'all was trying to gamble.
That's what it is, under state law.
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Well, what if I give it to a college fund like she's going to do?
Still can't gamble. It's called bingo. You say, call it something else.
Well, do they owe us money? Then I want to know. Since we've been paying it as a 501c.
Do who owe you money?
Whoever the money went to, you said it was being paid out, right? You said Mark paid it. That means he took it out of our line item.
Mark paid it, and he didn't pay out of the line item. That's right. He withheld it. So
He will tell us. So in other words, what he's saying is, when our club was given X amount of dollars, which we never handle,
Right.
because I don't believe in handling
You
money.
shouldn't handle it.
I don't want to go to jail or have somebody bring up something negative about me. So all that money we get stays with the city, and then we go out, get our own vendors, and they got to submit their bill to the city.
Correct.
And the city approves it and pay it, and that's the way that
Correct.
it should be done.
Agreed.
Any club that handles their own money is only looking for negative.
Well, that part is not true, because I was told by finance, I sat in a meeting with the city manager and finance, saying that if we wanted to be a support group for scholarships or schools like Collins Elementary, Dania Elementary, that we could not take those funds out of the funding from the city Parks and Recreation. It would have to be a separate entity.
True.
And I agree with
True.
them on
No,
that.
right.
So that's not a negative, that's a positive, because we're trying to do something very positive for our community.
Yeah, but we want to keep the money within our own clubs to support our own clubs, not donate it to somebody else.
Well, we will be donating it. You'll be donating it to the youth of Dania Beach for scholarships.
Well, honey, I'm on seniors. You
Well-
guys take care of the youths. Okay. The youths. That's New York.
Oh, I watched that movie.
All right, so is there a policy that needs to be in action?
I'm a line item. I'm under parks, and that's where
Is there a policy
I
that
think
needs to be
what
in
Colin,
action?
years.
excuse
Mayor,
me.
Mayor, if I may, I would recommend that
Thank you.
the City Commission authorize expenditures, authorize a charitable donation to the new Martin Luther King Association.
Renaissance Corporation.
Renaissance Corporation, and the remainder of the Martin Luther King line item as a charitable donation. And going forward in the budget,
That's
we're
what I
going to, and this is a budgetary item, but we'll go ahead and we'll fund the Martin Luther King through the city's budget, and the new corporation will work with the Recreation Department in planning and making for a great event.
Very easy.
Okay,
And was it-
all in favor?
Wait 1 second. Is it true, though, that an employee was written up?
Yep.
There's
I'm asking the city manager.
written up connotes
Written up means it's a
Dis-
negative letter in your file. That's what written up means in New Jersey.
Okay. Well,
So now,
In Florida,
well,
too.
I'll give you
Florida, too.
I'll give you a New Jersey answer via Florida.
Yeah, 'cause you're
Okay,
from there.
Right. Written up is it's a disciplinary term. Nobody was officially disciplined, and there's no notices in anybody's personnel file about violations of the
Because
Because they didn't sign it.
Well, no, they wouldn't
was
go. They
never
wouldn't
put
go in there anyway because purchasing, especially with union employees and with other employees, has to follow progressive discipline. This is an administrative act and has nothing to do with
Okay, I just
with
want
the
to be
personnel.
sure that he or she,
Well,
whatever
I
it
spoke
was-
directly with the finance director, who assured me that the employee would not receive their P card back unless they signed a notice that said they violated the procedure policy and admitted guilt.
Well,
So
as a
that's your
union-
answer.
as a
We
union,
never,
sign anything your boss gives you.
that's what I told him.
Anyway,
Don't
let's
do
move
it.
on. Airbnb Task Force, Vice Mayor.
Let's move this item and let's go on.
Oh, wait, did we get
we get
the
a
policy?
Uh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there you go.
Got it, Colin?
At the request of residents and the community, we're addressing the Airbnb problem. So Mark's going to give you a brief explanation on what we talked about today.
Sure. In preparation of the meeting tonight, we submitted a memo to the commission. And what that memo does is sort of outline what our ordinances are and what our regulations are. It's important to note that the cities were preempted in 2011 from regulating Airbnbs or vacation rentals unless they pass an ordinance by the end of the month of May. The state legislature gave us a month to pass our regulations, which we did, thankfully. Some cities didn't. And we've been working with those regulations now for probably about the better part of 6 months. It's also interesting to note that really we haven't gotten that many complaints until about a year ago. We've had a total of about 4. So we've had a chance to work with our regulations. I'll tell you that the regulations are a little, they're very comprehensive and they're very detailed. For example, you have to get inspections of your property before you can open up an Airbnb. Now that means that our inspectors from zoning, minimum housing, structural, electrical, plumbing, all go to the site and look at it as a transit lodging unit, which is a little bit more than what a single-family home would be. So there's going to need to be modifications made to a lot of these homes. So far, no one's passed the inspections yet. The second thing is they have to get approval from the state, that they've registered with the state in all of the different ways that hotels are required to be registered. And then they also have to have an agent assigned to that property, which people have done that, have made application. And there's also things like occupancy requirements. For example, they can't have more than 2 persons per bedroom and no more than 10 ever at all, and they can't violate any occupancy regulations at all that might be related to the fire code or the building code. So our regulations are pretty significant. And there's also the requirement that if they are in violation of any of these after the certificate is issued, that certificate could be revoked. Any appeals to that revocation comes to this commission for a final decision. So far we've only had 9 applications made, and no, I'm sorry, 6 applications made. 3 are in process. 3 are have not made application yet. We've had, out of those 4 complaints that we've had, all 4 of those are working through the code enforcement process. One of them is accruing a fine, which was started to accrue in April. And we're scheduled to go out and do some more inspections. One of the things that we're going to be doing in order to get a better view of what kind of a problem that we do have is we've hired a company that goes and scrubs Airbnb, VRBO, and all the other vacation rental websites. They scrub it on a real-time basis. We download the information, and then from that information we can prepare a spreadsheet and then send out a letter. And what we'll be, they've been under contract for a month, but they should be up and operating in the middle of July. What I want to do at that point is I'll get a spreadsheet of where all the Airbnbs are, and it's actually against the code to advertise for an Airbnb. So if they're advertising for an Airbnb, we're going to notify them that they have to come and get it in a vacation rental certificate and start that process. Now I can tell you that I've talked personally with a couple of people that are interested in opening an Airbnb, and when they hear what the process is, they've said no thank you. We've also had people that are still moving through the process. But I think until probably July, when we understand better what the universe is of Airbnbs in the city, we'll get a better idea of what the problem is and how to address it. But I can tell you I think our regulations that we have are pretty good. Maybe they could be tweaked a little bit, and I think Tom will have an opportunity to comment on the ability to make changes to that Airbnb ordinance that we do have, but it's going to be limited what we can change, but we could tweak it to make it a little bit better. For example, one of the things that I've heard is to have a plaque or something that identifies outside who the agent is, the phone number, things like that. That way if there's an issue, the city or someone else get easy access to who's responsible for that Airbnb. Things that are relative to how Airbnb guests may act, or issues that would be a police matter, and it would be very difficult to kind of regulate that much differently. And as far as garbage, the city already has the authority to come in and require more garbage pickup when there's a requirement for it or a need for it. We have set up a task force between BSO, all of code enforcement, and all of the building trades to do both any kind of investigation of complaints and to do any kind of inspections and background checks that are needed to be done through the process. So even though this is something that's a little bit new to us, we're working through it, and like I said, I think we're going to know a little bit more once I understand how many we have, and we'll know more in July, I think.
Roughly how many Airbnbs do we have here illegally?
I wish I could give you that answer. And, one of the things that we did is we've been looking at the Airbnb websites too, just like remember when we were trying to track down Ubers?
Right.
Uber and Airbnb and VRBO are very smart. They put out a lot of ghost cars, Uber does, and Airbnb puts out ghost units. So we think there might be as many as 100, but I almost hesitate to use that number because it really is a guesstimate, not an estimate.
Okay.
But if there's a complaint, we'll be happy to look into it and follow up on it. We have.
Commissioner Bernardi?
Mark, in July, we're all going to the Florida League of Cities, and I was notified that that's one of our big classes there on the agenda is the Airbnb. So we'll probably find out some information there too. And also, the hotels are fighting it. They're pouring tons of money into fighting these Airbnbs because the people aren't screened even. You don't know what's moving in. And you did a good thing for when I asked you to. I asked Mark, how would I know if I have any Airbnbs in Meadowbrook? He said, well, let me snoop around. He did, and he came up with it. Now, let me tell you what the big problem is. The condo association won't fight it, even though they've even got a picture of the condo, of the living room, of the bedroom, of the kitchen, because they have to pay money now to get those people out of there. And the condos are not going to do it. And that's a problem. Why? Because if there's a little lady living next door, and then another one's on this side with a kid, she don't know those 8 men that are coming in a 2-bedroom. That seems to be a problem. What you hit on is also the garbage.
Yeah.
So all those things are going to, so we'll all learn more at the meeting.
But I want to also take into consideration when you said condos, they're doing it with boats now. So I don't know if we need to involve our marina or West Trek with this conversation because I rented an Airbnb boat a few months ago in Miami, and so for sure they're doing it with boats, half days, full days. I don't know if our police need to be aware of that as well because you have people, a lot of people on boats sometimes, and it's overfilled with people, and we already don't have dedicated marine officers here in Dania Beach, and so that's something we need to understand as well. Vice Mayor?
The ones that we do know about are, can we require that they have additional fire suppression systems like hotels and condos do to, you know, smoke detectors and fire suppression and display of extinguishers or whatever as part of our allowing them?
Yeah, it's actually part of the inspection,
Okay.
some of the requirements. And the couple that we've gone into through the permitting process and inspection process, they've had to go back in and change out wall sockets so
Right.
that, you know, so that they're safety wall sockets. They've had to put in fire extinguishers, exit signage, things like that.
Because, I mean, we as a small business even have to have a fire extinguisher located next to each exit. I'm sorry, Pat, what did you want to say? Because Pat had an issue, or Sean, or what? Is that a requirement too?
No.
Do we enforce that?
No, it's the statute prevents us from
Okay.
requiring that. We had to check into that.
Okay. So we're working on it.
Well, thank you for being involved with this.
Sean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can you have to
Just
come up to the podium.
Come and just
I'm sorry.
have a word.
I know that he had shared about a contact card, but I really want to make sure that we are diligent in terms of the contact information that we're providing, because technically these things are operating as a hotel, okay? And if you go to any local hotel, typically they have a picture of the general manager, a picture of the assistant general manager, with a primary number and a secondary number, because there's going to be holidays. And what if we can't get a hold of this person? I still believe we should put something in our ordinance that the property manager for that Airbnb has to pass some type of background check. Because if you go to a hotel to be a general manager and you fill out an employment application, more than likely you're filling out some type of background check nowadays, because I just want to make sure it's a professional operation. I don't want an issue over the holidays and I can't get a hold of the primary contact person. I also want a photo, because what if Joe Schmo shows up and says, I'm so-and-so? Well, that doesn't match the photo. If you're going to run an Airbnb and make money off it, it needs to be held accountable to be a professional operation. And the garbage pickup, hotels pick up your garbage every day. And if you're saying there's going to be a maximum occupancy of 10, that's extremely generous to a 3-bedroom home or a 2-bedroom home. The home next to me is generating tons of garbage. I can't believe how much garbage they generate.
You know what, Sean?
Thank
Since
you.
we're working on it and we're going to be going to a workshop about it, I think in the early part of August or late July for the League of Cities. So we're on it, and you know about it because you called me about it. And we talked on the phone that day about it. So Mark is working on it. We're working on it. So
yeah, because when
a lot of what ifs.
the night that it got crazy, where they started their party at 9 and didn't wrap it up till 7 a.m. the next morning, I did call BSO, and all he did was pull up in the alleyway. He never knocked on the door and said, "Listen, guys, you're past the 11 p.m. ordinance."
Sure. What about all these parties I hear you're having at your house?
Uh-oh. Turn up, Sean. No. Mark,
No.
I think that it might, depending on when this course is, it might benefit you from taking this class as well, since you are working directly with this ordinance. So you might want to look into...
Yes, they can.
That'd be good. The other thing I wanted to mention when you...
Chicky said it's a date.
Yeah.
Oh, daytime. Okay, sorry.
The other thing I wanted to mention that I know the commissioners are aware of is that working with the League of Cities is going to be important in sort of stemming off what the state legislature wants to do in preempting the city's opportunity
Right.
and authority to regulate Airbnbs. That's really been holding back the city's authority that we would normally have under land use and
Right.
zoning laws. So
Okay.
I'm sure that's going to be a topic of discussion at this conference.
Thank you.
Yep.
Assistant City Manager for the Fire Plan Examiners and Fire Fees.
Mark, would you stay there? This last item, I know the city manager's spoken to you about previously. Another byproduct of our building growth is a demand for more fire inspectors and fire plan reviews. Mark can go into the need of what that is and a funding mechanism that we need to take. We haven't looked at the fire fees in quite a while. I know that the fire assessment has been increasing to cover pension issues, but the fire fees through code and annual inspection, when we first went on with BSO in 2010, we had looked at that, but their fees were quite a lot sharper than ours. But now we're getting around to look at that. Mark is going to talk about his processes for reestablishing the fees and the need to do so. Mark?
Sure. We think this is a pretty important agenda item for the department and for the city and for the future development of the city. Just to put it in somewhat of perspective, when I first came to the city, we did about $27 million a year in value of construction. Last year we did about $210 million, and I think we're going to be hitting about $300 to $350 million in the next couple of years, and I don't see it slowing down unless there's some catastrophe in the national economy. It's not going to slow down in Dania Beach for another 4 or 5 years. And so you can see that the workload has just been increasing, and your department's doing a good job meeting those needs. But it's important to note that, you know, we can't issue the building permit without a fire safety plan review sign-off, and they can't get their CO without an inspection. And a little bit earlier tonight I talked about how we've been able to kind of keep ahead of it, or at least been able to meet the demands of development, because we've been willing to put people on staff ahead of time, get them trained, or be able to respond quickly enough. We're going to need that same situation with our fire plans examiners and inspectors. They're really working hard. They're an integral part of the department, and they work extremely well, but they're stretched right now. And what they've had to do is they've had to move people from other aspects of their work into plan review and to new construction inspection. And what we're hoping is that the commission would allow us to increase the fire fees, which have not been updated, I think it was since 2006. And in the staff report you'll see that they really those fire fees only generate enough money to pay for half of the fire marshal's services that we receive. So half of it is unfunded through the fees, which it all should be funded through the fees. All the fire marshal's activities should be funded through the fees, just like your building permit fees are. But instead, since those fees are low, half of their services are being paid for out of the general fund. So this agenda item is really kind of an introduction, because what we'd like to do is come back to the commission at their next meeting with an ordinance that takes the fire fee schedule out of an ordinance format, allows us to put it into a resolution format. Then when we come back in July for second reading, we would have also a new resolution that says that we would want to increase the fees. The simple formula that I gave you a minute ago, that it's half unfunded, is an easy way to look at how to properly fund it. If it's half unfunded, then if you double the fees, and you're going to approximate paying for your services. So we would look towards doubling those fees, but what we did when we looked at it, we made sure that the smaller businesses wouldn't be affected, because we know that there's small businesses, small developments and things like that that don't want to be affected as greatly by an increase in their fees. Remember, we did that with the building permit fees when we changed those about 3 years ago, or maybe it was more than that by now. And then the other thing that we did is we compared it to other jurisdictions, and we're still lower than what the county would charge. For example, like a 110-room hotel, I think that the fire fees goes from $3,800 to $7,200. Now their fees, though, It's not, and I even talked to some of the larger developers in town. They understood what we were going to be doing. They didn't have any complaints about it because the reason being, they want good service. And, they want to ensure they're going to have good service. And as I said earlier, fire marshal's office, those inspections, that plan review is critical to getting our job done. The other thing that's important to remember, too, is that for all of the new businesses that are new construction now, even the multifamily and the hotels, they all get annual fire inspections. So all this new construction, the need for new fire marshal service, it doesn't just relate to new construction, because after the construction's done, there needs to be more staff there to conduct those inspections that happen on an annual basis. So that summarizes it. We want to see you again in July, and hopefully get it done and get it approved so we can hire some more folks.
Is this just for businesses?
No, this is all new construction.
All new
And then new businesses, the annuals is new businesses, but don't forget that multifamily and hotels get an annual inspection too. So it's broader than that.
So for small businesses, is that the 38 that you were telling me about?
No, that would be for a 110-room hotel. We actually pulled the permit fees right out for 110.
So what about for the smaller businesses?
I mean, they would go unchanged on the smaller ones.
Okay. And what is considered small? Where does that scale stop?
I just asked them to price out, like a small tenant improvement for like a, like a small restaurant. So that sort of thing, those fees wouldn't change.
Okay. Commissioner Savina?
Yeah, just one quick question. When you start talking about the larger hotels and stuff like that, and you went from 36 to whatever it is to 72, isn't there a way that you can put like a scale? Thank you. Because realistically, those should be paid a lot more than that. That could offset to get us the fire marshals and paid for and get more of them as you need them.
That's a good question, and that's actually the approach that we really wanted to take initially, but it would restructure completely the way that the permit fee schedule was done with BSO, and we were able to do that with our permit fees, and it simplified it. But that's just not the way that firemen do it. So, the way we do it for building permits and engineering permits, it's a percentage of the value of construction.
Okay.
But that's not.
Okay, gotcha.
The firemen do it the old-fashioned way. We tried to get them to do it the new way. It didn't seem to work as easily.
Maybe we need to have a talk with them, huh?
We did.
So what do you need an approval?
No, just this is more, I know the city manager had talked about individual one-on-one meetings with them. As your schedules get busy and your break is coming up, we thought we'd bring it at this portion to talk about it. The other item we're going to have on the agenda is we need to authorize BSO to go out and continue the work that they're doing in hiring and acquiring the fire inspectors. It's a specialized skill. It's a difficult thing to find, and we're working on retaining some people looking to retire. So we're going to need to augment agreement with BSO Fire and to pay for those fire inspectors.
That's going to be part of our budget for this fiscal year, or are you trying to do that before?
Yeah, a portion of this fiscal year, but it'll be baked into next year's budget as well.
Can we make? I'm sorry, Mayor.
I just said okay.
I didn't push my button.
Okay.
Okay. Can't we at least hire one now? Is there enough money in our budget to put one on, or two?
Well, we would need the agreement with the sheriff's office, which we're planning on doing a memorandum of agreement.
I see what you're saying.
And so perhaps BSO can speak to it. I know they've been looking and they're aware of our issue and their issue.
Okay, so what you're saying is that they want to renew their contract before we put the other one or two on, is what you're saying?
We do have a contract renewal, which we'll be considering with the budget, because there's another position in there, a chief. However, we want to move this issue is important enough, we want to move it along right now, because we need the inspectors right now.
Hello, Eric Lusenberg, Assistant Chief, Broward Sheriff's Office, Fire Code Official. Maybe for my own, just a clarification. The fees and how you want to do your fees are up to the city of Dania Beach. Broward Sheriff's Office doesn't really have anything. We have county fees, and maybe that's the the clarification. When we discussed it, City of Dania Beach could assume the exact same ordinance that the county has with their fees. If they did that, then that would be identical. But as far as how you want to raise your fees or apply them, really does not have to do anything with Broward Sheriff's Office and the contract.
Thank you.
Okay.
How long before we can get one? That was the question.
Yeah. All right, well, we can move along with it. I mean, anybody have any objections to it?
No.
No, as long as we can move on with it. Get somebody
Yeah, I
else.
just said we can move on with it.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, see you in 2
Okay.
weeks. Commissioner comments, Commissioner Brandon Marty. Good, Commissioner Grace.
First of all, I want to thank the Chamber and the City of Dania Beach for the hurricane readiness. I think it was really a fantastic job. Out of all the ones that we have done in the past, I think this was the most informative one that we've had in quite some time. Fabulous job. We went to 2 ribbon-cutting ceremonies on last Friday. One was for the preschool at the Collins store, CRA, and I was really happy to see almost 100 people show up at that ribbon-cutting ceremony, and at the same time to wish Mr. Collins, Sterling Collins, a happy birthday. He's 99 years old.
Wow.
And so it was really nice to be a part of that. We do have a new restaurant in the City of Dania Beach. It's Joe's Grill. I was really happy with the quality of the food and the quality of service. I'm telling you, if you have not gone there, it's right across the street from Miami Subs, and I think that you will be pleasantly surprised. It's family owned, so please go in and support them. I want to thank Parks and Recreation. Hakeem, you and your staff have done a phenomenal job, and especially with the preparation of the Dania After Dark, helping with the hurricane readiness, the after-school programs for the Meals for Our Children, and to see as many children at those locations that are utilizing the program. And so I take my hat off to you. I know it's a lot to do, but you guys have mastered it, and I really think that your staff has been phenomenal, and I just tell you to keep up the work. I'm very pleased with what you're doing. I appreciate it so much. The last thing I want to tell you, and I think through the mayor, through the city attorney, do we not need to discuss the Oasis thing, because do we need to discuss that?
If you want, what I'll do is incorporate the discussion
Yes.
from the CRA into the minute.
Okay, so we're good.
Into this.
Oh, okay. And the last thing is Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Commissioner Salvino?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to address one thing to, I guess, Parks and Recreation or Public Works, whoever's in charge of it. I've had 2 complaints, believe it or not, in 2 days about the new signs that are on the beach that says backup parking. And you can't see it says backup parking. It's very dark. So I don't know how we're going to rectify it, but I got to tell you, it needs to be changed because
My
you can't see
son-in-law
it.
got a ticket.
You cannot see backup parking on that sign unless you get right up
No
to
back-end parking? The no back-end parking?
it. You can't back in there, no.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay?
they
Gonna
said you
get
yelling at
you.
the wrong
So-
person, both of them.
So the question of both of the people asked, can they get a refund because it's not publicized well?
Well,
I was just asking.
well, I got, a lot of residents have gotten those same tickets. and
Yeah, we paid
have-
out.
Okay,
I
so
don't
you'll
know.
fix that, Mark? Thank you.
That's it?
That was all. I'm reiterating everything Bobby said because I did everything with her.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for everybody for sticking up and staying up late. I mean, hanging out and staying up late. Hanging out. Participating in government. Raquel, thank you very much for an awesome Dania After Dark. It was enjoyable, and the turnout was like 1,000 people and an awesome ice cream truck. And it was very well done. I can't wait till the next one. While we're talking about the beach, the Dania Beach Bar and Grill, I think, needs some attention from us as far as their lease and continuing for them to operate in an expeditious manner. I think they're current on payments, but when the lease was negotiated in 1999, it was they basically gave it to them. So we need to renegotiate the lease. As far as Broward County goes, the one penny sales tax initiative is coming back again from Broward County. So that will be on the ballot in November. Today at the Broward County Commission, the Saratoga Crossings project passed unanimously on the consent agenda.
Good,
So
Joe.
that will be going, site plans and permits and everything should be going, what we say, 45 to 60 to 90 days. About,
Was it for the same exact site plan that we saw, or was it for a less amount?
it's the same.
Okay.
It's the same.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll have more affordable housing solutions here.
I knew they would have a plan.
I was elected to serve as co-chair with the MPO on a roundtable steering committee with Gloria Battle, Commissioner of Deerfield, Mickey Belvedere of Coconut Creek, Michelle Gomez, of Mayor of Tamarack, Mayor Josh Levy, Hollywood, Commissioner Lisa Malozzi of Cooper City, Mayor Mike Ryan of Sunrise, and Commissioner Beverly Williams of Lauderdale Lake. So we had our first meeting the other day, and one of the things that they talked about was, you know how the express lanes go through Dania Beach, that there's a way that we can harness the revenue from those express lanes from, let's say, Sheridan Street to the end of the Dania Beach city line, that we can harvest that revenue. Instead of going to the state, it will come back to the city. All those cars that go through the express lanes every day, that we can capture some of that revenue. So it's, did you ever hear of such a thing? Yeah, me too.
Me too.
So there's a way to do that, and we just had our first meeting, so there were 17 projects lists. So any of you out there that have any transportation requests or needs or questions, email me, and I'll try to get it in front of the steering committee, because we make the recommendations to the MPO now. So, and then the League of Cities asked me to serve on the, listen to this, appointed to the League of Cities to the Broward County School Board's Oversight Committee for implementation of the interlocal agreement for public school facility planning.
Look at you.
So I'm happy to serve, because that could impact us when we are after the Olson School Project.
You got it.
It's about facilities planning and what they want to do. So.
Look, all of it.
And then I had a conversation today about the banners for construction banners, and using the city logo on a construction banner that's part of the scrim that goes around a construction project. Now, with our new city logo, let's say on a, you know, a new Marriott hotel, with a rendering of the hotel with the city logo in like the lower left-hand corner, are there any restrictions for the project using the city logo? Does anyone know?
We're reluctant to require developers to do it. If they do use it, they would get the city's, if they want to use it, they would get the city's permission to do it.
So just like a letter?
Like using it for anything else. When you want to use the city's logo, it needs commission approval.
Okay, because the city, I mean, would be a partner with the project, because basically all the permits and everything have to go through us. So, I mean, they're paying us a fee for them to use our logo. So, do you understand what I'm saying? You want to speak? And that's all I have, but I just wanted to bring that and one more thing.
William CRA Director. We've had a conversation, the city attorney as well as community development and some outside counsel, and we're going to be creating an administrative policy that would dictate how we go about doing that, because we want the commission to be able to approve this for particular projects in particular corridors. So it wouldn't be everywhere or anywhere in the city, but at specific locations and for specific land uses. Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
And then wait, one more thing while you're up here. Sorry, it's been a long night. Winn-Dixie Plaza. The Chase Bank is closing and moving their branch over to Sheridan Street in New York. So that will be another empty building in Winn-Dixie Plaza. Are you aware of any development plans on that site at all? Because there will be just yet another empty building on that piece of property, though. Did you know that the bank was moving?
Yes.
Yeah, we had heard that. We had heard that. No, there aren't any immediate projects planned for that site.
Because the banner that the real estate company put out there is bigger than the bank sign. For sale.
Yeah,
You
because
know.
the bank is leaving. They sent me.
Got
they sent me
$1 million
Okay.
plus, you can get it, Bill.
Oh. Okay. All right, that's all. Thank you, everybody, for staying. Thank you, thank you.
All right. Number one, we met with Josh Gabaton, and I had great meetings and ideas with him. The one thing when we're trying to secure funding, and he was speaking about certain things that I wanted to get funded, like some of our mentoring programs, that wouldn't be a cost to the city, but would be a way to collect federal dollars. But the issue is we don't have anything in our resolutions or in our city that supports these types of programs. And so I'm going to be looking into creating a resolution with him that we could possibly use in order to create federal funding so we can have certain programs here. I asked him why we are not qualified for a lot of these different grants, and he said it's because we don't have in writing a lot of the things that we support. And so when you go and you apply for these grants, those are some of the requirements. So it won't cost the city a dime, but I'll bring it back to you. So that's something that I am working on. I want to know what do we do, or what are our procedures for residents when they turn 100 years old. We have a resident that is turning 100 on October the 12th, and her this must be her great-granddaughter or her granddaughter, is planning a party. I'm not sure what we do, what we provide for them. Does anyone know? Oh, Commissioner Grace?
In the past, what we have done is that we did a proclamation and we presented them with a key to the city of Dania Beach. I know that the governor of Florida also does a proclamation, and if you ask whoever our representative is for Congress, they would do the same thing. So that's what we've done in the past. I didn't know whether you wanted to create something different, but that was easy to fix for us.
I don't want to recreate the wheel. Can we work on that, Assistant City Manager?
Yes, usually these type of things, commissioners request it, and we'll accommodate
Okay.
that.
It's easy.
So you said Congress, governor, and city?
Yes.
Proclamations and a key to the city.
Also, if you ask the president, he will do a certificate or something.
Our football camp for the Dania Beach Dolphins, we had a free football camp at the University of Miami for the Dania Beach Dolphins. And not for the Dania Beach Dolphins, it was for anyone to attend, a certain age group, but it was free of charge. It was at Mills Ponds Park. Last night, I drove myself crazy with about 25 to 10-year-olds. I probably never do it again. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I rode the bus. I lost my mind. But I love what's happening with our youth. Those are experiences. They got a chance to take pictures with the football coach, meet some of their favorite past players and current players. And I just think that is an experience that many of them will probably never forget. I think that's all that I had. And that's all that I have. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers, and thank you all for staying up this late at night.
Bill's not up. He's falling asleep.
He done put his laptop away. Appointments. We have General Employee Pension Board Commission appointment.
We have only one, I believe, that's going to be up for discussion, and that's the one from 2018 to 2019. Dorothy Olive?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Dorothy
so
Olive.
has she...
Her term expires June 22nd.
Has she said that she would like to continue?
Yes.
Okay, so can we reappoint her?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the Florida League of Cities.
Bill will be our voting delegate, and I will back him up if you want. This will be my last hurrah, so hurrah.
whether he likes it or not.
All right.
Need a motion and a second for those two?
Second.
So, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Administrative reports. City Manager?
Yes, Mayor. One item I think the CRA Director raised in her meeting was the change in the TAP grant, removing Northwest First Street from one of those grants. We're going to go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Raquel brought that. And it's just a follow-up on the special event approval for TNT. They've been doing that event for so many years. You should just reflect that they'll have their special event permit, providing they provide with the usual and customary comments by the staff. Thank you.
Okay. City Attorney?
I know the Vice Mayor had some questions about medical marijuana treatment centers, but I'm not sure what your questions are. I can tell you, we do know there is one that has undergone review and zoning approval was received last week. It's on Sterling and Fippins Road, that old butcher shop on the Fifth Avenue block, or 5th block of Sterling Road, is going through the process. Otherwise, there's, let me see, I have a bunch of stats. There's 13 medical marijuana treatment centers in different stages of licensing, and there are approved retail dispensing locations statewide, 39. The closest one I can see is in Lake. None of them are in Broward County. One is working its way through Hollywood, but it's not been licensed. So there are 2 in Miami, one in Miami Beach, Kendall, but nothing here in Broward County. I say nothing else in Broward at all that's been approved as for retail sales. There was a judge said that smoking could be done, but then the state appealed it, and now there's a stay. It doesn't work until the court rules on the stay. So no, it's not approved yet statewide. No, that's all I've got.
City Clerk?
Meeting reminders, Wednesday, June 13th, actually tomorrow at 1 p.m. You have your workshop, city manager candidate recommendations.
What time is that?
That
1
is
o'clock.
1 p.m.
Oh.
Then on Monday, June 25th at 9 a.m., you have a workshop, city manager interviews. And then on Tuesday, June 26th at 7 p.m., your regular city commission meeting. That's all.
Meeting adjourned.